Tonight we're exploring the unsolved mysteries of the ruins of Alph. There are a few important threads to follow, but I'll keep the pacing soft so you can still drift off comfortably. Thank you to those of you who've been joining us consistently. If you're falling asleep with us tonight, let me know in the comments how many nights in a row you've been here. And if this is your first night, just comment night 1. Now back to the video. Southwest of Violet City, where the paths near Route 36 and Route 32 quietly converge, there is a place built from old stone, shallow chambers, and questions that no one in Johto has fully answered. The ruins of Alph do not announce themselves with towering walls or glittering treasure. They wait in silence, half buried beneath the grass, their entrances leading into rooms that feel less like tombs and more like messages left unfinished. At first, each chamber appears almost simple. A large stone puzzle rests against the wall, broken into sliding pieces. One puzzle forms the image of a kabuto, another reveals an aerodactyl. There is an ammonite and a ho-oh, each ancient creature arranged in patient fragments. But when the final piece is moved into place, something beneath the floor seems to recognize the answer. The ground gives way. The explorer falls through a hidden opening and lands in a long underground hall, surrounded by strange symbols carved into the stone. And then, in the darkness, the Unown begin to appear. They do not move like ordinary Pokémon. Each one is a single black shape, bearing one familiar letter of an alphabet, with a staring eye set into its center. An A drifting silently through the air, a T, an M, a question that has taken physical form and learned how to hover. There are 26 letter shapes in all, and later, 2 more symbols, an exclamation mark and a question mark. Yet even after every form has been found, the simplest question remains untouched. What are the unknown? They are often described as unknown Pokémon, which sounds less like an explanation than an admission. Their language is made of letters, but their messages are rarely clear. Their presence is tied to old temples, sealed chambers, dreams, and spaces that seem to exist just beside the ordinary world. In the ruins of Alph, the puzzles are said to act as signals, calling the unknown into the underground halls, as though the completed images have opened a line of communication. Perhaps the stones are not simply puzzles at all. Perhaps they are invitations. The walls of Alph offer their own fragments of testimony. Ancient writing speaks of a time 1,000 years in the past, when people and Pokémon lived together in harmony here. Other hidden messages, revealed only after solving the chamber puzzles, form short and unsettling phrases. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. Escape, friend, life, human. Each word is plain on its own. Together, they feel like pieces of a story whose center has been lost. Who was this clan, and what were they trying to escape? The architecture of the ruins seems to echo the oldest places of Japan's Kansai region, particularly the village of Asuka, south of Nara. Its real-world landscape is known for ancient burial mounds and the remains of early temples, places where religious belief, royal memory, and mythological creatures were carved into stone. The ruins of Alph carry a similar feeling. Their puzzles depict Pokémon, but their deeper purpose may have been ceremonial. The people who built them may have worshipped Pokémon, raised statues in their honor, and left behind a language meant for beings who were never entirely human. Some have connected those builders to the ancestors of the Kimono Girls, remembered in old traditions as the 5 Ladies of Asuka. It is an elegant possibility, though still only a possibility. Johto's history has a habit of surviving in songs, ruins, and half-remembered legends rather than in complete records. Even the sound around Alph resists explanation. Set a Pokégear radio to channel 13.5 near the ruins, and the usual broadcasts disappear. In their place comes a thin, strange transmission. Electronic noise, warbling tones, and something that feels almost like a voice trying to form words through a broken machine. It may be nothing more than a signal, or it may be the Unown, listening from somewhere beneath the stone. The stone does not thrust up from the ground southwest of Violet City. It waits, tucked into the earth, as if the ruins have no interest in being found. You could walk the path between 100 times and never know the chambers were there. But they are. And they have been there for a very long time. There are ruins in Johto that invoke power. The Tin Tower glows with the presence of Ho-Oh. The burned tower hums with the memory of legendary beasts. But the ruins of Alph do not invoke power. They invoke absence, a silence that feels watchful. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of waiting. That is what makes them Johto's most unsettling archaeological mystery. No one is entirely sure what is being waited for. If you tune a Pokégear to channel 13.5 near these stones, the signal shifts. Every other frequency on the network carries music, weather reports, news from the towns. Channel 13.5 carries something else entirely, a pulsing, watery distortion, a sound with no known source, no broadcast tower, no licensed frequency. It is simply present when the receiver is close enough to the ruins. The researchers who study Alph call it the transmission. They have no explanation for what generates it, or why it only plays here. And then there are the inhabitants. The unknown do not move like ordinary Pokémon. They are not drawn by food, or shelter, or the turn of seasons. They are drawn by meaning. Each one is a single letter of an alphabet, suspended in the air, watching with a single eye. They gather in the deepest chambers, drifting slowly, as if reading something invisible in the stone. The central question, the one no archaeologist in Johto has fully faced, is why? Why do living letters gather beneath these forgotten chambers? There are 26 recognized forms of the Unown. Each one corresponds to a letter, from A to Z. But Unown are not merely letters. They are a full system of written language, given physical shape. In the Generation 4 remakes of the Johto journey, the research team discovered hidden text tiles on the floor of the underground hall. The Unown themselves had arranged them. The messages are short. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. Escape, friend, life, human. These words feel like a story compressed into fragments. A clan that built statues of Pokémon. They had friends, they had life, they were human, and they needed to escape. Escape from what? The text never explains. The ruins of Alph do not tell stories the way a book does. They tell stories the way a memory does, in pieces. In single words that carry more weight than a full sentence could. The puzzles in the outer chambers are specific. One forms the image of a Kabuto, another an Aerodactyl, an Omanyte, and a Ho-Oh. These four creatures correspond directly to the real-world mythological guardians of the Asuka period, which inspired the ruins' design. A black tortoise, a dragon, a bird. The builders of Alph understood the sacred geometry of space and direction. Completing the puzzles does not just reward the explorer with access to a new room. It restores a signal that has been broken for centuries. The Unown respond to the restoration. They emerge from the walls. Each Unown has a single eye. The eye is the same in every form, a black circle against a black body, or a white circle, depending on how the light strikes the stone chamber. The effect is the same no matter the generation. You are being watched by a sentence. The Unown float in arrangement, sometimes forming words, sometimes just hovering in the patterns of the alphabet. They do not attack, they do not flee. They simply exist in the space, as if the room itself is a page, and they are the ink. Some researchers point to the word escape as evidence of a catastrophe. The Unown are tied to dimensional spaces. The puzzles summon them. If the builders created a doorway with these puzzles, perhaps they needed to leave through it. Perhaps the Unown are not just letters. They are the keys to a door that the builders walked through 1,000 years ago and left on the other side. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, if you bring the mythical Pokémon Arceus to the ruins of Alph, something extraordinary happens. The Unown begin to circle, the room distorts, and you are transported to the Sinjo ruins, a place that blends the architecture of Sinjo and Johto. The Unown recognize Arceus. Or perhaps, Arceus recognizes the language of the Unown. The Sinjo ruins are a place where the fabric between dimensions is thin. The Unown are the writing on that fabric. They are the characters of a script that describes the boundaries of reality. There is a quiet theory among the researchers at the nearby lab that the ruins are not a tomb. They are a library where the books are living, drifting, watching, and channel 13.5 is the sound of the library listening back. The transmission is not static. It is the noise of the collection breathing. The Unown have no evolution, no known breeding pattern, no clear role in the ecosystem above the ground. They exist only in relation to the ruins. They are bound to the stone and the symbols. In Generation 3, they could be found in the desert, but even there, they were tied to ancient structures. They appear wherever language became sacred. The messages on the floor of the Alph underground hall are the only direct written account left by the builders. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. This is the most complete thought. The rest feels like a final line left behind by someone who could not finish the letter. Friend, life, human, escape. Which of these is the subject of the sentence? Which is the verb? The Unown do not clarify. They only repeat the fragments, over years and years, until the meaning sinks into the stone. The builders worshipped Pokémon. They raised statues. They carved out chambers that align with the cardinal directions, and then they vanished. The Kimono Girls of Johto are the closest living connection to that vanished world. Their ancestors, the 5 ladies of Asuka, may have been priestesses who understood the language of the Unown. The dances they perform in Ekritique City echo the same patterns of respect and reverence that the builders carved into stone. But the Kimono Girls do not speak of Alph. The silence around the ruins is thorough. To approach the ruins of Alph is to stand at the edge of a language that has no remaining speakers. The Unown are the words. The chambers are the sentences. The puzzles are the grammar. And the transmission on channel 13.5 is the voice, even if no living mouth produces it. The shape of the ruin, the messages left in the stone, the drifting letters of the Unown, they form a map of a world before our own. A world that knew the Unown not as monsters to be captured, but as messengers. But who sent them, and what the message says, asks the listener to move deeper into Johto, not toward the towers, but toward the older ground, where the first statues were raised, and the first symbols were carved, where a clan once left their final words in the dark, and walked through a door made of nothing but meaning. West of Violet City, the well-worn paths of Johto begin to diverge. Route 36 stretches north, a corridor of tall grass and ledges that leads eventually to the national park and the town of Goldenrod beyond. Route 32 winds south, past the slow-moving waters of the river, carrying travelers towards the coast and the Pokémon Center at the edge of the sea. Between these two roads, nestled in a pocket of land that seems almost deliberately set aside, the soil gives way to grey stone. This is the ruins of Alph, a site that sits at the literal crossroads of the region, yet remains utterly separate from the flow of everyday life. The landmarks nearby are entirely ordinary. The Sprout Tower in Violet City rises distant but visible from the entrance of the ruins, its wooden structure a symbol of the present day. The tall grass on the route rustles with the movement of wild Pokémon. Trainers pass by on their way to their next challenge, their footsteps carrying them over a ground that conceals a labyrinth. To reach the ruins, a traveler must step off the main paths. Route 36 flows past to the north. Route 32 descends to the south. The ruins sit in the space between them, a triangle of land unclaimed by the flow of the routes. It is defined by what it is not. It is a pause in the journey of Johto. The entrances to the ruins are sealed. The stone doors do not open easily. They require a specific approach, a willingness to investigate the quiet anomaly. The chambers beyond are completely dark. their interiors preserved in a state of waiting. The walls of these rooms are not bare. They are covered in carvings, thin, precise lines that form letters. 26 distinct shapes, repeated in patterns that feel deliberate. Contrast this with the world outside. On Route 36, the trees bend in the breeze. The grass is tall. The ledges are perfect for jumping. It is an active landscape, designed for movement. The ruins of Alph are the opposite. They are a landscape of stillness. The stones do not move. The air does not stir. The chambers are sealed, and the silence inside is heavy. It is a silence that has accumulated over centuries. It is entirely possible to travel through Johto without ever entering the ruins. The vast majority of travelers pass them by. The route from Violet City to Goldenrod is a busy one. Trainers are focused on their goals. The ruins sit just far enough off the path to be ignored. A quick glance at the map shows the small grey patch. A decision is made to move on. Those trainers walk directly over the underground world. They do not know it. The earth beneath their feet is hollow in places. The chambers of the ruins extend far deeper than the surface walls suggest. There are ladders leading down, halls connecting chambers, a space designed to be inhabited. A space that still holds the presence of its creators in the form of the Unown. The underground world is the true heart of the ruins of Alph. The surface is just the entrance. The real work of the ruins is done below. The puzzles that shift the stone walls, the rooms that trap sound, the halls where the Unown gather. This is a world that operates on its own terms, hidden from the sun. The ruins are a threshold. On one side is the living, breathing Johto of the present day, the cities, the routes, the gyms, the seasons. On the other side is a prehistory, a time when people and Pokémon lived together in harmony, 1,000 years ago. The ruins are the only physical record of that time. They are a bridge. Standing at the entrance of the ruins, a traveler can feel the shift. The light changes. The sounds of the roots fade. There is a sense of crossing a boundary, of leaving the familiar behind. The stones of the ruins are old. They have seen the rain of 1,000 seasons. They hold the cold of the earth. This threshold quality is deliberate. The ruins were built to be a gateway. The puzzles, the letters, the Unown themselves, all of it is designed to mark a transition. To enter the ruins is to accept an invitation into a mystery. There is a particular loneliness to the space between roads. The routes of Johto are full of purpose. Every square of grass has a Pokémon. Every ledge has a trainer eager for a battle. But the land between routes is different. It is a leftover space, a place where the world was not assigned a function. And the ruins of Alph were hidden in exactly this kind of space. From the road, the ruins look like nothing more than a cluster of stones. They merge with the landscape. The grey of the stone is similar to the grey of the cliff faces nearby. It would be easy to mistake them for a natural formation. It is only upon approaching that the geometry becomes clear. The lines are too straight. The angles are too precise. This was built. A traveler standing on Route 36 might glance over and see the ruins. The distance is short, just a few steps from the main path. But those few steps feel significant. They are a passage from the ordinary into the strange. The grass between the road and the ruins is the buffer zone between two realities. The reality of the ruins is one of sealed doors and ancient puzzles. The chambers inside are dark. The floors are unstable. The puzzles require a specific touch, a sequence of moves that unlocks the deeper levels. The sealed rooms are not just barriers, they are invitations. They demand interaction. The contrast between the open, accessible routes and the closed, enigmatic ruins is sharp. The routes give. They provide battles, items, encounters. The ruins take. They require effort, thought, a willingness to be confused. They are a space of transaction with the past. It is in this transaction that the threshold comes alive. The trainer who solves the puzzle is participating in an ancient ritual. The floor breaks. The descent happens. The Unown appear. The ruins become active. The space between roads becomes a space of encounter. And so the ruins of Alph exist in a state of potential. They are a secret hidden in plain sight. They are a place that generations of travelers have passed without a second thought. But for the one who stops, who approaches the sealed doors, who moves the stones of the puzzle, the ruins open. The underground world reveals itself. The threshold is crossed. The journey into the ruins of Alph is a journey into the foundational mystery of Johto. The text on the walls, the transmission on the radio, the unknown in the darkness, all of it points towards something that the games themselves only hint at. A history of harmony, a clan of creators, a dimension of letters. The silence of the ruins contains all of this. Let us descend into this silence now. Let the floor fall away beneath us. Let the unknown emerge from the dark. The threshold has been crossed. The walls are beginning to speak. The sealed stone rooms of the ruins of Alph feel disconnected from the rest of Johto, a patch of strangeness tucked away between Route 32 and Route 36. The player approaches through tall grass, past the occasional insect Pokémon or a bird circling overhead. There are no flashing lights here, no grand fanfares, just the quiet crunch of footsteps on dry earth. But the landscape that surrounds them is not a fiction invented for a video game. It was drawn from a very specific memory of the real world. The Johto region was designed to mirror the Kansai region of Japan, the ancient cultural heartland that holds the cities of Nara and Kyoto. This is a place where history is not confined to museums or glass cases. It rises directly from the earth in the form of weathered stone and forgotten paths. The geography of Johto reflects this. The game does not rush you, it asks you to walk. And as you walk, the weight of the place settles over you. The mountains, the rivers, the way the towns sprawl out from a central lake. It is all drawn from that specific geography. The player who walks through Johto is walking through a memory of Japan. South of Nara, hidden within this quiet landscape, lies a small village called Asuka. It is from this village that the ruins of Alph draw their quiet, fragmented atmosphere. In real life, Asuka is not a bustling city of modern life. It is an open-air museum of ancient Japan, a place where the past has never truly been buried. The fields are not empty. They are dotted with keyhole-shaped burial mounds, the ancient tombs of emperors and clan leaders from more than 1,000 years ago. Some are covered in dense trees. Others are simply grass-covered humps in the middle of a cultivated field. Stone monoliths stand in the grass, carved with figures whose meanings are still debated. Underground chambers lie open to the air, their original purpose lost to time, but their presence undeniable. If you stand in the fields of Asuka, you can feel how the ruins of Alph earned their name. It is a name that implies a fallen civilization, a place of refuge, a language that no one can read. Asuka feels the same way. It breathes history, but it refuses to explain itself. Asuka is a land where temples, burial mounds, and fragmented myths coexist. The Asuka-dera Temple, one of the oldest Buddhist temples in Japan, stands as a testament to a civilization in transition. Its walls once held murals of mythical creatures, the four celestial guardians of the cardinal directions. A bird for the south, a dragon for the east, a tiger for the west, a tortoise for the north. Walk a little further, and the landscape shifts dramatically. The Ishibutai Kofun rises from the earth, a megalithic stone chamber weighing over 1,000 tons. It is a structure that seems impossible for its time. Local legends speak of demons who moved these stones in a single night, carrying them across the mountains. Ancient texts found within the games tell a different story. They speak of a clan who created Pokémon statues, who carved warnings and prayers into the stone. The 4 slide puzzles inside the ruins of Alph correspond to the 4 mythical beasts. In the game, solving them unlocks a hidden room. In Asuka, looking at the murals feels like solving a puzzle that has no clear solution. The Unown are the letters of a forgotten alphabet. The murals of Asuka are the same. They are symbols demanding interpretation. This is the key to understanding the ruins of Alph. They are less a fantasy invention than a dream shaped by real archaeology. The feeling of approaching the ruins through the tall grass, of seeing that strange stone face built into the cliffside, is the same feeling you might get approaching the Iwayayama cave or standing before the Ishibutai Kofun. The past is right there, just under the surface, half concealed by the present. The strange radio frequency, the cryptic messages, the sense of a civilization gone silent, but not entirely vanished. The atmosphere of Asuka is the atmosphere of Alph, a place where the weight of history presses down, and the silence is never quite empty. The researchers in the lab outside the ruins are trying to understand the same questions that real archaeologists ask on the plains of Nara. Who were these people? What did they believe? Why did they build this? And what did they leave behind? The game does not give easy answers. Asuka does not give easy answers either. The connection is not in the facts, it is in the feeling. The sealed stone rooms of the ruins of Alph are the heart of the mystery. The landscape of Asuka shapes the walls, the weight, the silence. But inside those walls, something is moving. The path to the ruins is not a grand entrance. You approach through a gap in the trees, or from the tall grass along Route 32. The stone face of the ruins emerges slowly from the cliffside. It is not a welcoming face. It is weathered, ancient, its features worn smooth by time and weather. The entrance is a dark square. There is no door. There is no sign. You simply walk inside, and the light fades. The temperature drops. The sound of the outside world is cut off, leaving only the sound of your own footsteps on stone. This transition is not just spatial, it is temporal. You have left the modern world of Pokémon centers and Pokeballs. You have entered a space where time moves differently. The stones are cool to the touch. The walls are covered in patterns that look like letters, but are not any language you can read. The silence is total. And then, very faintly, you hear it. The sound of the transmission. A whisper of static. A pulse. Channel 13.5. The landscape of Asuka gave the ruins their form. The weight of history gave them their silence. But the silence is not empty. It contains letters. It contains Unown. And as the player stands in the underground hall, surrounded by those floating symbols, the silence begins to speak. The Asuka region of Japan holds its history close to the ground. You walk through rice paddies and forests, and you are never far from a monument. Specifically, there are great earthen mounds scattered across the fields. From a distance, they look like hills carpeted in green, but their shape is unmistakable when you look closer. They are keyholes. Gigantic, ancient earthworks shaped like keyholes. These are the Kofun. The building of these monumental tombs began around the 3rd century of the Common Era. This is roughly 2,000 years ago. The purpose was to house the elite of a powerful, stratified society. The scale is staggering. The largest Kofun in Japan, the Daisen Kofun in Sakai, is said to have taken millions of man-hours to construct. It is an earthwork of imperial proportions, built for an emperor whose name we know. But for so many others of that era, the names are gone. The earth remembers their shape, their power, their final resting place. But the personal stories have faded into silence. We look at these massive grass-covered tombs and the glory of a forgotten people. Monumental earthworks built for people whose names have vanished. This feeling of a forgotten, massive presence is at the very core of the ruins of Alph. The language of the site is the same. An ancient clan, powerful enough to manipulate the landscape itself, to create underground chambers, to carve puzzles that control reality. They left their mark on the stone. Their inscriptions speak of creating statues, of life, of human and Pokémon connection, but they do not give us their names. We find no dynasty carved into the walls, no chronicle of kings. The clan of Alph is exactly like the builders of the Kofun. They built for the ages, but they let the ages swallow their identity. This naturally leads to a difficult question when you step inside the ruins of Alph. What exactly are you walking into? A Kofun is a tomb, a mausoleum. The purpose is clear, even if the identity is obscured. But the ruins of Alph defy a simple label. Are they a tomb? No bodies are found, but something is certainly interred. The puzzles seal a chamber beneath. When the floor breaks, you fall into a hidden hall. The feeling is distinctly that of a sealed burial chamber being breached. What was buried here? Was it a person? An object? A power? Are they a temple? The murals on the walls depict creatures that resemble Pokémon. The site is a place of deep spiritual resonance. The Unown themselves seem almost like guardian spirits or resident deities. Ancient texts say that people and Pokémon lived in harmony here. It has the feeling of a sacred site. Are they an observatory? The structure of the ruins, the alignment of the chambers, the specific radio frequency required to interact with the Unown. It suggests a deep understanding of astronomy or interdimensional physics. The site is tuned to a specific signal, or are they something more dangerous? The word escape is found in the ruins. The puzzles summon the Unown as if they were being released. The underground dimension feels less like a sanctuary and more like a prison, or a holding cell for a species that exists between realities. The ruins of Alph keep this secret perfectly. The tombs beneath the grass of Asuka hold silent bodies. The ruins beneath the grass of Johto hold silent mysteries. We do not know if we are walking into a temple to honor the unknown or a tomb to contain it. The text on the floor speaks of friendship, of life, of escape. It is a message from a vanished clan, speaking to us across the centuries. They left the puzzles to be solved. They left the unknown to be met. The purpose of the structure remains the greatest riddle of all. Looking closer at the walls, the letters begin to move. They move not because the stone is changing, but because our understanding of it is. At first, the Unown appear to be an alphabet. 26 familiar shapes, each one corresponding to a letter. That seems simple enough. A message waiting to be translated. But an alphabet is never just an alphabet. It is a system for preserving thought beyond a human lifetime. It allows a voice to survive after its speaker is gone, and that is what makes the ruins of Alph so unsettling. The clan may have disappeared, but its language did not die. It became alive. The letters themselves swarm from the walls, gather in the hidden chambers, and respond to the actions of anyone who enters. In this place, writing is not passive. Knowledge has taken physical form. Perhaps the Unown were not created as creatures at all. Perhaps they were symbols first, and something happened that gave those symbols agency. Or perhaps it is the other way around. Perhaps language copied the shapes of beings that had existed long before people learned to write. The ruins never explain which possibility is true. They simply place us before the impossible sight of letters that watch, flee, gather, and perhaps communicate. The ancient builders may have understood something we do not. They may have believed that a word was more than a description of reality. A word could alter reality. A symbol could open a chamber. A completed image could break the floor beneath your feet. In the ruins of Alph, solving a puzzle is not merely an intellectual exercise. It is a ritual. You arrange fragments into the proper order, and the world answers. Those keyhole-shaped tombs, the ancient coffin that inspired the ruins of Alph, are markers of a vanished history. They were built for the dead, for their journey into the next world. But the chambers scattered across the ruins of Alph feel different. They are not places of rest. They feel like machines. To enter the heart of the ruins, you must discover the 4 chambers. They are not hidden, but they are separate. One stands to the north, another to the south, east and west. They are modest structures, low and square, built from the same pale stone as the rest of the site. The grass grows right up to the doorways. Inside, they are silent. The air is cool and still. The only feature in each room is carved into the floor. It is a sliding puzzle, 16 tiles of stone set into a recess in the ground. The tiles bear fragments of an image, the image of an ancient Pokémon. One chamber holds the spiral shell of Omanite, another holds the armoured plate of Kabuto, a third holds the winged silhouette of Aerodactyl, and the 4th chamber holds a great bird of rainbow fire. Sliding the tiles into place is a slow, deliberate process. The weight of the stone is heavy under your hands. The sound of tile grating against tile is the only noise in the chamber. The grooves of the images are worn smooth by centuries of stillness, but they remain sharp enough to guide you. When the final piece is fitted, the mechanism beneath the floor engages. The stone drops with a deep groan. The entire puzzle platform sinks, creating a ramp down into the earth. The puzzle does not simply open a door, it activates a transformation. The ruins were not built with a static layout. They are a device. Solving the puzzle triggers a collapse, a reconfiguration of the space. You are not walking into a room, you are waking the structure up. This design implies a specific intent. The puzzles were not meant to keep people out. They were meant to be solved. They are waiting for someone. The unknown text found on the floor of the central chamber reads like a letter left for a visitor. Escape, friend, life, human. Our clan created a Pokémon statue outside. These are the words of the people who built the ruins. They carved their final messages into the floor, knowing that one day someone would solve the puzzle above and find them. The chambers were designed for someone to return, not a thief, not an archaeologist, someone the builders knew. The uneasy feeling that settles over you in these chambers is the awareness that you are fulfilling a very old, very quiet prophecy. There is a transmission that can be received on the Pokegear radio at channel 13.5 near the ruins. It is a strange repeating noise. It is not music. It is not speech. It is a signal. It is the sound the ruins make when they are waiting. The puzzles and the transmission work together. One is the physical key. One is the call. When the floor drops and you descend into the space below, the walls are not natural. The ceiling is supported by carved pillars. The unknown text glows faintly across the floor. The language is not painted. It is etched into the stone itself, a permanent record. And the unknown are there. They float in the darkness. They form letters A, B, C. They are the alphabet of this place. They are drawn by the completion of the puzzles. They are the proof that the mechanism worked. They do not attack. They simply emerge from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. They circle the room silently. They are the written word, given flight. The 4 chambers scattered across the site are not a maze. They are a summoning array. They call the unknown into being. The purpose of the puzzles was to create this meeting, this moment where language becomes alive. You enter the ruins through 4 modest openings in the earth. You solve the images. You descend, and you find a room full of letters waiting to be read. The mechanism of the ruins of Alph is complete, and the silence of the chambers is replaced by the silent presence of the unknown, hovering in the air around you. The floor panels themselves hold the key. Each chamber contains a grid of stone tiles that can be shifted, slid into place to complete a picture. On the surface, they resemble simple puzzles, perhaps designed to test the visitor's patience or their intellect, but the images they form are something else entirely. They are not abstract patterns, nor are they purely decorative. These pictures are not just pictures. If you slide the tiles into their correct positions, a distinct shape emerges on the floor of the room. Each puzzle, across the 4 separate chambers, resolves into a specific silhouette. These are not random geometric forms. They are clearly delineated upon completion. The design is unmistakable. One chamber forms the shape of a familiar Pokémon. Let's look at them closely. These are not vague impressions. They are deliberate outlines. They look like the bodies of Pokémon we recognize today, creatures seen in the tall grass just outside the ruins. But this connection runs deeper than simple recognition. The images on the floor are a link to something far older than any modern Pokédex entry. To understand this, we have to look away from the Johto region entirely, and instead look at the real-world art that inspired this space. During the archaeological work surrounding the ruins' design, researchers looked to the ancient murals of Asuka, Japan. These murals, found in the tombs of powerful figures from the 6th and 7th centuries, depict 4 divine beasts guarding the cardinal directions. One is the black tortoise of the north, another is the azure dragon of the east, the third is the vermilion bird of the south. These massive mythic creatures were painted onto the stone walls of ancient burial chambers, watching over the dead for over 1,000 years. Now look back at the puzzle floors, the shape of the tortoise, the silhouette of the dragon, the outline of a bird. These are the creatures, or rather, the ancient symbols of those creatures that have been translated directly into the puzzles of Alph. The puzzle designs are not arbitrary. They draw directly from the iconography of ancient Asuka. It is as if the architects of the ruins took the protective spirits of a real-world tomb and carved their shadows into the stone floor of a Johto cave. This raises a profound implication. The forms of Pokémon we take for granted today, a slow-shelled Pokémon that controls water, a winged serpentine beast of the sky, a bird cloaked in flame, these may not be recent discoveries. They may be symbols that have been preserved for centuries, encoded into these very puzzles. The people who built the ruins of Alph were not just decorating their walls. They were holding onto an ancient memory. They were writing down the shapes of powerful beings that were known long before the age of modern Pokeballs and gym badges. The Quagsire, the Dragonite, the Ho-Oh in the modern era might just be echoes of these primal guardians, their forms fossilized into these stone mosaics. And if the images are so carefully chosen, we have to ask ourselves, what was the purpose of the puzzle itself? It is easy to see a sliding puzzle and think of it as a game, a lock, a simple mechanical test for a curious explorer. But when you consider the sacred geometry of the beasts, the fact that these exact images are used to summon the Unown from their dimension, the entire process looks less like a lock and more like a ceremony, a ritual. In ancient tombs, specific actions had to be performed to pass through the gates of the underworld. Offerings had to be made, spoken words had to be uttered. The sliding of these tiles into the perfect order of a mythical beast is an action of precision, a repetition of an ancient specific sequence. Every one of these puzzles acts as a coded ritual. It is a reenactment of a cosmic order, performed by the person standing in the chamber. By completing the image of the guardian, you are casting a summoning spell. You are recreating the ancient picture, and by doing so, you are repeating the sacred act that keeps the door open between our world and the world of the unknown. The puzzles are solved. The image is complete. The floor trembles, and then it falls away, dropping the solver into a dark pit below. This transition is jarring, violent, a literal collapse of the world you were just standing on. It brings us to the chamber beneath, a hall that is not a natural cave, but a constructed space. A hall where the walls themselves begin to speak in letters. The final piece slides into place. The picture, the ancient beast restored, is whole, and nothing happens. For a beat, nothing happens. It is the held breath before a door opens. Then the sound starts. It is not a crash. It is a groan. A deep, grinding complaint from the stone itself, rising from somewhere below the floor. The slab does not shatter. It splits. A hairline crack first, thin as a thread, tracing the edge of a perfect square. Then the crack thickens. A network of seams spreads from the center of the puzzle, mapping the outline of a trapdoor laid down centuries before you arrived. The mechanism is old, but it is precise. The slab of stone tilts. It sinks. It is falling away from you, leaving you standing on the edge of a sudden darkness. The hole breathes cold air upward. Dust motes float in the square of pale light from the chamber above. The floor does not give way violently. It gives way deliberately, as if the ruin itself has decided you are worthy of what lies beneath. The player drops. It is automatic. The ground that was a floor is now a ramp into shadow. You do not leap. You fall with the stone. It is a short descent in the game engine, but it measures a real separation. The light above shrinks to a square, then a sliver, then a point. The sound of the world above. The wind across the grass of Route 36, the distant hum of Violet City, the static of the radio, all of it stops in an instant. You are in a tube of rock. You are between This is the moment every archaeologist works toward, but rarely experiences. The moment the site gives up its second life. The upper chambers of the ruins of Alph have always been puzzling. In every sense of the word, they are small, they are modest. They contain sliding images that feel at first like children's games, but the puzzles are not the destination. They are the lock. The real ruin is below. The floor was a seal. The seal is broken. You have not simply found a new room in an existing house. You have discovered that the house was never the building you saw from the outside. The house was the cellar. The ruins contain a second world, a world that was deliberately hidden, sealed, and guarded by images of beasts that never quite existed in the way we think of existing. The descent feels less like entering a basement than crossing a boundary. A basement shares the same walls, the same foundation, the same life above it. This is different. The temperature drops. The quality of the air changes. The silence is absolute and it listens. You have left the surface of Johto and entered the country of the unknown. It does not feel like you have gone downward. It feels like you have gone through. The puzzle was the threshold. The fall was the step across. In a sense, the game is teaching you a principle of excavation. The surface scatter is not the site. The artifact on the ground is not the story. Ancient people built their worlds on top of older worlds. They buried their own architecture. The puzzle on the upper floor is the visible trace. The collapse is the invitation to dig. You do not excavate the ruins of Alph with a brush and a trowel. You solve a picture of a bird, and the earth opens. You land on a stone floor far below. The slab that gave way is now a tilted ramp behind you. The hole above is a distant square of pale light, impossibly high. The chamber you have entered is larger than the one you left. The walls are close, but the space feels vaulted. The air is still and cool. It is not a cellar, it is a hall built to hold something, and it is full of language. The stone has been carved, not with pictures of beasts this time, though the same beast forms echo faintly in the corners of the room. It is carved with letters, the shapes of the unknown. They are everywhere, on the walls, on the floor beneath your feet, on the pillars that support the ceiling. They have been polished into the surface of the stone, and they catch the dim light from the hole above. They glow faintly, as if the rock itself is remembering something, as if the words are not carved but alive. The text is fragmented, pieces of a larger story. It speaks of a clan, of statues built outside of escape. It mentions friends, life, 1,000 years of harmony. It is a confession, a record, a message sealed in the dark for no one in particular. The floor gave way so that this message could finally be seen. The fall was the permission. You stand in the center of the hall. The dust from the collapse settles. The sound of the stone fades into the deep silence of the underground. The unknown themselves begin to gather in the dark corners of the room. They do not attack. They do not flee. They float, rotating slowly, watching you with no visible eyes. They have the shape of language, but they behave like creatures. They were drawn here by the disruption, by the opening of the seal. The hall is their temple. The text is their voice. And standing there, in the center of a fallen floor, surrounded by the words of a vanished culture, you realize the ruins are not simply a monument to the past. They are a library, and the library is breathing. The descent is complete. The reading is about to begin. The fall does not last long. It is a sudden drop, a release of the floor beneath your feet, and for a brief moment, there is only air and darkness before the landing. The impact sends a dull shock through your body, and dust rises in a cloud around you. When it clears, when you can see again, the space you have entered is nothing like the chamber above. The filtered daylight from the surface is gone. The stone here is darker, almost black, and polished smooth by an age you cannot measure. And the first thing you truly notice is the silence. Not the quiet of a forest or the hush of a cave, but a deep, deliberate absence of sound. Air that has not moved in centuries. A stillness that feels less like emptiness and more like a held breath. The walls of this underground hall are dark, and they are covered. From the floor to the high ceiling, they are lined with old inscriptions. thousands upon thousands of carved characters, pressed deep into the stone in long unbroken rows. They are the letters of the Unown, arranged not as scattered symbols but as continuous text, sentences without end, a language without a known grammar. Corridors branch off from this central space, stretching into deeper darkness, and every surface in every direction is filled with these unreadable symbols. It is not a tomb you have fallen into, it is a library, an archive built in solid rock, its contents sealed against time. As you begin to explore, the purpose of the structure becomes clear. The 4 chambers on the surface, the 4 sliding puzzles, they are not the ruin itself, they are the locks. Each puzzle you solved, each image you restored, is a key that operates a mechanism far below. The collapse of the first floor was not a collapse at all, it was a release. And as you navigate the passages beneath, you find doorways that were not open before, sections of wall that have slid aside. It becomes evident that solving each puzzle unlocks another section of this buried complex. The surface is the control panel, the underground is the machine. The entire site is designed to respond to your actions, revealing itself piece by piece only when the correct sequence is completed. This realization changes how you see the whole site. What stands above ground, the 4 chambers visible in the grass, the statues of Pokémon outside, the paths worn by ancient feet. These are only the surface architecture of a much larger design. The hill itself is hollow. The true ruins of Alph are not the buildings you walk through to get here. They are the labyrinth beneath your feet. The surface was never the destination. It was a foyer, a threshold, an invitation built to look like a simple puzzle, so that someone curious enough would step inside and trigger the fall into the real structure. The architecture here is inverted. The most important rooms are the ones hidden deepest. Standing in the center of this hall, surrounded by the unreadable text, the weight of the design begins to settle around you. Let the silence of this hall become its own kind of message. It is too quiet to be accidental. The builders could have left echoes, open chambers, passages that carried sound. Instead, they shaped the stone to absorb noise. The corridors are narrow, the ceilings are low, the acoustics are dead. There is no music playing in the original games when you stand here. Only a low ambient tone that sits just at the edge of hearing. It is a space designed for listening. The silence tells you that this is not a place for speaking, it is a place for receiving. The inscriptions are the broadcast, but the quiet is the channel. Your footsteps are the loudest sound in the room. Your own breathing fills the space, and in that forced stillness, the symbols on the wall begin to feel less like static carvings and more like a voice waiting for the right conditions to be heard. The darkness of the walls absorbs your light. The letters seem to shift in the corner of your vision. It is easy to feel watched, not by a threat but by the space itself. The hall has been holding this silence for longer than any human civilization has existed in this region, and it does not break it for you. It simply waits, and then gradually the silence is joined by something that is not quite sound, a vibration, a faint hum that seems to come from the stone itself, or perhaps from the symbols that cover it. The unreadable characters along the walls begin to tremble, as if the letters themselves are waking up. The Unown begin to appear. They drift out from the inscriptions, pulling themselves free from the carved text, their single forms rotating slowly in the air. They do not move aggressively. They do not flee. They simply emerge, as if stepping out of the sentences they have been composing for centuries. The text on the walls is not a record of the past. It is a living script, and it is now responding to your presence. The reader has arrived in the archive, and the archive is beginning to read you back in those underground halls where the walls are covered in unreadable symbols. One message has been translated with certainty. It is an ancient inscription carved into the stone, stating that 1,000 years in the past, people and Pokémon lived in harmony here. This phrase is the closest thing we have to a voice from that vanished civilization. At first it reads like a promise, A golden age where humans and Pokémon coexisted in perfect balance. But it is also a warning. Why would they need to record such a thing if it were not already fading? The very act of inscribing it suggests that harmony was already threatened, or perhaps already lost. Now stand in the ruins. The chambers are empty. The puzzles are silent. The only sounds are the wind and the occasional shimmer of an Unown appearing from nowhere. This is the present condition of Alph. Abandoned, uncertain, a ghost of that proclaimed harmony. The contrast is stark. What was once a place of life and cooperation is now a labyrinth of stone and darkness. So what could have ended it? What force was powerful enough to break a civilization built entirely around the ideal of harmony? The inscription does not say. It only tells us what was, not what became. And that silence is perhaps the most unsettling message of all. The halls below Alph hold many secrets, but the story of their end remains unwritten. The symbols on the walls might hold more clues, but they refuse to give up their meaning easily. As we step back from those corridors, we are left with more questions than answers. The harmony of 1,000 years ago is a memory etched in stone, but the circumstances of its collapse are a mystery that draws us deeper into the enigma of Alph. One possibility is that the people of Alph did not disappear in a single catastrophe. Civilizations rarely end with one dramatic moment. Sometimes they simply change. Families leave. Traditions lose their meaning. Sacred places become old places, and old places become ruins. Perhaps the descendants of Alph's builders moved outward into Johto, carrying fragments of their culture with them, while leaving the heart of their world behind. But the Unown make that explanation difficult. They are not ordinary Pokémon wandering through forgotten tunnels. They seem bound to the ruins themselves. They emerge when ancient puzzles are solved, gather around messages, and appear in forms that resemble letters and punctuation. It is almost as if language has taken physical form beneath Alph. That raises an unsettling question. Were the Unown created by the civilization? Or was the civilization shaped by the Unown? The people who built these chambers may have seen the Unown as divine beings. A full alphabet of living symbols would be impossible to ignore. Imagine discovering creatures that could arrange themselves into words, warnings, names, or prayers. To an ancient culture, that would not feel like a coincidence. It would feel like communication from something beyond human understanding. And if the Unown truly were communicating, what were they trying to say? The strange messages found across the ruins are fragmented and indirect. Some speak of escape, some refer to light. Others appear to describe a hidden presence sealed away from the outside world. None of them offer a clear history. Instead, they feel like pieces of a conversation that began long ago and was never finished. That hidden presence is often linked to the mystery of the chamber beyond the ruins. Deep within Alph, there are places that do not feel designed for ordinary visitors. They feel ceremonial, deliberate, like thresholds built to contain something, protect something, or prepare someone for an encounter they were never meant to understand fully. This is where the story of Alph becomes larger than a forgotten settlement. The ruins may not have been a city in the traditional sense. They may have been a sanctuary, a place built around contact with forces that existed. The people of Johto gave them names. The chambers, the sliding stone panels, the patterns on the walls, and the constant presence of Unown all suggest a culture devoted to decoding a mystery that stood at the center of its world. Perhaps harmony was not merely about humans and Pokémon living side by side. Perhaps it meant something more fragile, a balance between the visible world and the unseen one, between those who asked questions and whatever answered from the darkness. If that balance was broken, the consequences may not have been immediate. There may have been no collapsed towers, no battlefield, no final inscription describing a disaster. The people may simply have learned something they could not live with, or they may have opened a door that could not be closed. There are legends throughout the Pokémon world of ancient powers sleeping beneath the earth, waiting beyond sealed chambers, or appearing only when specific conditions are met. Alph fits naturally into that pattern. Its puzzles do not protect treasure in the usual sense. They protect knowledge, and knowledge can be far more dangerous than gold. The Unown themselves are the clearest example. They are everywhere, yet they remain unknowable. They have no obvious leader, no visible home beyond these ruins, and no simple explanation for their strange behavior. They appear in immense numbers, forming shapes and words, with a purpose that seems almost intelligent. But whether that intelligence belongs to the Unown, to the ancient people, or to something using both remains impossible to say. Maybe the builders believed they could control the messages. Maybe they thought the symbols were a tool, a sacred alphabet through which they could understand the universe. But over time, they may have discovered that they were not the ones reading the messages. They were the message. That would explain why the ruins feel so empty, not destroyed exactly, abandoned with intention. The people may have chosen to leave rather than remain near whatever power they had awakened. They may have sealed passages, recorded only the safest parts of their history, and allowed the rest to sink beneath silence. Yet even after all that time, Alph is not truly dead. The moment someone enters its chambers and begins solving its puzzles, the old mechanisms respond. Stones move, ancient patterns reveal themselves, Unown appear. The ruins behave less like a tomb and more like a machine that has been waiting patiently for someone to return. And that may be the most frightening possibility of all. What if Alph was never meant to preserve the past? What if it was meant to test the future? Every visitor who enters the ruins follows the path laid down by people who vanished 1,000 years ago. Every puzzle solved brings us closer to the same hidden truths they once sought. We look at the inscriptions and wonder what became of them. But perhaps the ruins are asking a different question. Perhaps they are wondering what will become of us. We now follow the threads left behind by the builders. The inscription of 1,000 years of harmony is not just a promise or a warning. It is a signature left by a culture that chose to record its existence through its works rather than its name. The ruins themselves become the only biography we have. Archaeologists from the research centre near Violet City have combed these chambers for decades, and the clues they have uncovered point consistently toward a single group, an ancient clan that once inhabited this region of Johto. We do not know what they called themselves, but we know what they did. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, careful puzzle solvers discovered something hidden in the floor of the underground hall. Solving all 4 slide puzzles did more than open the way to the Unown. It caused faint lines of light to appear on the stone, tracing out letters in the same alphabet the Unown themselves embody, and those letters formed a message. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. That simple sentence is the closest we will ever come to a direct statement from the past. It tells us 3 things. First, that the builders thought of themselves as a clan, a communal identity. Second, that they took responsibility for the massive stone statues that stand near the ruins entrance, those weathered Pokémon forms that have puzzled visitors for generations. Third, that they valued the act of creation enough to record it in a place that would not be seen for centuries, tucked away beneath a collapsing floor, hidden from casual eyes. The question of who these builders were has no single answer in the games, but the evidence allows us to consider their role. Were they priests, tending a sacred site and summoning the Unown through ritual? The 4 chambers and the puzzle mechanisms suggest a ceremonial purpose. The way the floor gives way and the Unown appear mimics an invocation, a summoning from another dimension. Priests would have been the natural custodians of such a power. Perhaps they were artists. The Pokémon statue outside and the images on the puzzles show a deep appreciation for form and symbolism. The murals of tortoise, dragon and bird echo real-world tomb paintings from ancient Kansai, where such creatures guarded the dead. The clan may have seen their work as a gift to Pokémon, a way of honouring the creatures they lived alongside. Or they could have been rulers, a dynasty that built this site as a monument to their control over the land and the mysterious Unown. The hidden hall, the inscriptions, the deliberate placement of puzzles all suggest authority. Someone decided what knowledge should be hidden and what should remain visible. Another possibility is that they were guardians of a forbidden place. The word escape appears in the same hidden messages. That word, carved into the same floor that collapses to trap the unwary, hints at a darker purpose. Perhaps the clan sealed something away, and the puzzles were a test to ensure only the worthy could enter the underground hall. Or perhaps the Unown themselves were a threat, and the clan's statues and puzzles were meant to contain them. The word escape suggests something was not meant to get out, and yet for all their influence, the clan left no name, no king's seal, no queen's signature, no emblem that archaeologists can point to and say, this is who they were. They recorded their work meticulously, but they deliberately omitted their own identity. It is a cruel irony. The same culture that built the only known portal to the unknown dimension, that crafted statues and puzzles that have survived over 1,000 years, that embedded a message in a hidden floor for future generations to find, chose to be anonymous. They wanted us to know what they did, but not who they were. Perhaps that was intentional. A clan that saw itself as part of a larger harmony, not individuals seeking fame. Or perhaps they feared that a name would be cursed, remembered for the wrong reasons. The word escape lingers in the same chamber as their confession. It is possible the clan sealed their own history away, as tightly as they sealed the Unown. In the end, the only thing we can say for certain is that they were here. Their statues still stand in the grass outside the ruins, worn by rain and wind. Their puzzles still respond to the careful hands of travelers, and their message still glows in the dark beneath our feet, a voice from a clan that refused to give itself a name. But the fruits of their labor remain, drifting through the hidden halls, letters without a voice, watching from the shadows of a world they helped shape. The clan that left no name carved their message into the floor of the underground hall. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. It is the single direct statement they left about who they were. But a clan is more than its words. Identity is carried in bloodlines, in gestures, in melodies that pass from one generation to the next without ever being written on stone. And in Johto, there is a living tradition that may hold the faintest echo of the people who built the ruins of Alph. In Ecruteak City, 5 women gather to perform the sacred dance of the Kimono Girls. They dress in the likeness of the evolved forms of Eevee, Vaporeon, Jolteon, Flareon, Espeon, Umbreon. Their dance is said to calm the legendary beasts that wander Johto, the storm of Raikou, the fire of Entei, the waters of Suicune, all stilled by the movement of their kimonos. But the origin of their order is much older than the Ecruteak they walk through today. Some who study the ruins have quietly proposed a theory that the Kimono Girls are descendants of the very clan that carved the halls of Alph, that their ancestry traces back not only to the dancers who honoured Ho-Oh at the bell tower, but further, to the 5 ladies of Asuka. The legend of the 5 ladies of Asuka is a fragment of history that exists only in implication. There is no plaque at the ruins that bears their name. No NPC tells you their story. The legend lives in the shape of the space itself. 5 puzzles, 5 types of Pokémon, 5 chambers leading to one central hall. The number 5 is the signature of this lost tradition. In the real world, the Asuka period of Japan was a time of cultural transformation. Art, architecture, religion, all of them found new forms. In the Pokémon world, the Asuka region of Johto is home to the ruins, and the 5 ladies of Asuka are said to be the priestesses who once tended this sacred ground. Their power was not in combat, it was in performance. They understood that the line between the physical world and the world of spirit could be crossed through movement. They danced to honor Pokémon, not out of fear but out of reverence. They saw the shape of a Kabuto in the shell of a creature that had crawled from the ancient seas. They saw the wings of Aerodactyl in the sky. They saw the fire of Ho-Oh in the sunset. and they carved these visions into the walls of their temple. They built the puzzles as a form of choreography. The slides were not meant to be solved quickly. They were meant to be moved with intention, a slow dance of stone. The kimono girls of today dance to summon. The 5 ladies of Asuka dance to preserve. One tradition calls upon the present, the other entombs the past, but the motion is the same. The fabric flows the same way. The reverence for the creatures they represent is identical. It is not a stretch to see the kimono girls as the soft echo of a much older, much stranger practice. A practice that involved not just fabric, but stone. Not just a stage, but an underground hall. Could the sacred dance of the kimono girls and the sacred ruins of Alph truly be fragments of the same lost tradition? Consider the structure of the dance. The kimono girls perform in sequence. Each dance is distinct. Each represents a different type. The puzzles of Alph are identical in mechanism, but different in image. Each represents a different Pokémon. The ritual is the same, a repeated act of devotion that unlocks something powerful. For the kimono girls, it unlocks the path to the legendary beasts. For the solvers of the puzzles, it unlocks the dimension of the unknown. Both are doors. Both require faith and precision. Both are acts of worship that blur the line between human and Pokémon. The kimono girls become the Pokémon they represent. The puzzle solver becomes the hands of the ancient clan, completing what the builders started, breathing life back into a ritual that has been waiting for centuries. Leaving the connection unresolved is the only honest way to treat it. Confirmation would diminish the mystery. It would shrink the ruins into a simple answer. Instead, the whisper remains. There is no item text in the games that confirms the link between the kimono girls and the 5 ladies at Asuka. There is no dialogue from Professor Elm or Professor Oak that validates the theory. The connection exists only in the architecture of the world, in the way the land of Johto holds its secrets. The village of Asuka in the real world is a place of ancient tombs, a place where the past is not erased, but allowed to fade slowly. The ruins of Alph are built on this same principle. They do not demand to be fully understood. They ask only to be witnessed. And in our witnessing, we become part of their story. We carry the whisper forward. The unknown are the evidence of this witness. They are the ones who saw the dance. They are the ones who remember the clan and the ladies. And they are the ones who still hold the key to what the ruins were truly built for. Not just a tomb, not just a temple, but a message. A message written in a language where every letter is alive and every word is a doorway. Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. The story of the 5 ladies of Asuka leaves us with a lingering impression of the ancient clan as dancers, performers, and worshippers. But their worship was not confined to music and movement. It was carved into the landscape. We know this because of a single line of hidden text recovered from the floor of the ruins of Alph. Our clan created Pokémon statue outside. This is the most direct statement we have about their physical culture. They had a habit of carving stone into the shapes of Pokémon. This was not an isolated project. It was a cornerstone of their civilization, a creative and spiritual impulse repeated over generations. We have to study this impulse carefully. What were these statues meant to do? On the surface, they functioned as religious icons, standing representations of the deities the kimono girls danced for. But a culture this old rarely builds for a single purpose. The statues were memorials, preserving the memory of a bond that had to be remembered across centuries. They were territorial markers, signs to anyone approaching that this land belonged to a specific power, and they were seal stones, physical objects placed to bind something, to keep it exactly where it was. This is why the word escape appears in the chambers below. If the statues are seals, the question becomes deeply uncomfortable. Were the Pokémon depicted in these statues worshipped, protected, or imprisoned? It is entirely possible they were all three. A deity sealed in stone is still worshipped. A prison can be protection if the outside world is more dangerous than the cage. The clan may have carved these statues out of love, out of fear, or out of necessity. The ruins do not give us a clear answer, but they force us to ask the question, which brings us to the heart of the mystery. If the clan had the skill to carve such detailed statues, why did they fill the underground chambers with floating, shifting symbols instead of more carvings? The answer may be that the ruins themselves were built to honor beings whose true forms could not be carved in stone. The power that built the unknown dimension, the power of Arceus that lingers in the background of the site, is too abstract for a chisel. A statue can capture a face. It takes a living alphabet to capture a thought. The ancient clan mastered both arts. They carved the fixed and they summoned the fluid. They built statues to guard the surface, and they built a dimension for the symbols to swarm in. The contrast defines the ruins of Alph. Outside, the statue stands silent, unchanged for 1,000 years. Inside, the unknown shift, multiply, and spell out messages that cross the boundary between worlds. The statues are the invitation. The unknown are the conversation. The clan left both for us to find. This dual design also explains why the ruins feel less like a tomb and more like a machine. Every chamber has a purpose. Every puzzle is a test of attention. The unknown do not simply appear because someone wandered into an old building. They respond to arrangement, to sequence, and to the careful recreation of patterns that the ancient builders considered meaningful. To enter deeper into Alph is to participate in a ritual that has survived long after its original priests disappeared. That matters because rituals are not only acts of devotion, they are instructions. A ritual tells later generations what must be done, even when no one remembers why it must be done. Place the pieces in this order, stand in this chamber, read these symbols, carry this message onward. The ancient clan may have understood that its own history would eventually fade. Names would be lost, faces would become legends, but stone would remain, and a puzzle could preserve a command more faithfully than a spoken story. Perhaps that is why the messages of the unknown are so brief. They do not read like ordinary inscriptions. They are fragments, warnings and declarations. Escape, light, water. Oh, friends. They feel like pieces of a language designed for people who already knew the larger story. We are overhearing the remains of an ancient conversation, catching only the words that survived the collapse. And among those words, escape remains the most alarming. It suggests motion away from confinement. It suggests that something below the ruins was never meant to stay there forever, but it could also be a warning directed at intruders. Escape while you can. Leave before you awaken what the clan buried. The ambiguity is part of the design. The ruins do not hand us their secrets. They make us carry the burden of interpretation. The Pokémon statues above ground may have served as the first warning. They were visible signs of sacred territory, but they may also have been part of a larger network. A statue does not need to move to communicate. It tells travelers where they are. It identifies a place where ordinary rules no longer apply. In the world of Pokémon, shrines, towers, and ancient ruins are often built around moments of contact between humans and powers beyond human control. Alph may have been one of the oldest of these contact points. The clan that built it did not merely observe the unknown. They seem to have built their society around them. Their art, their writing, and their sacred architecture all point toward a people trying to establish order around an intelligence that did not think in ordinary human words. The unknown are shaped like letters, but that does not necessarily mean they use language as humans do. They may be the physical form of meaning itself, a thought made visible, a question with wings, a memory that can multiply until it fills an entire chamber. If that is true, then the statues and the unknown represent two different ways of preserving reality. Stone preserves form, symbols preserve meaning. The ancient clan needed both. They needed the statue because a sacred creature must be remembered as a presence in the world, and they needed the unknown because no statue could contain the idea behind that creature, the force it represented, or the message it carried. This may be the final lesson hidden in the ruins of Alph. The clan was not simply trying to leave behind a monument. They were trying to create a bridge between surface and underground, between stone and spirit, between the human world and a dimension made of living symbols. Each visitor who solves a puzzle and reads a message becomes part of that bridge. We do not just discover the ruins. In a small way, we activate them. And that is why Alph has never felt truly abandoned. Its builders are gone. Their clan name has been swallowed by history. Their ceremonies survive only as echoes in dance, song, and scattered fragments of text. Yet their system still works. The statues still stand. The chambers still wait. The Unown still gather around anyone patient enough to listen. The ancient clan left no final explanation, because perhaps they never intended to. They left an invitation, a warning, and a question. What exactly was sealed beneath the ruins of Alph? And what happens when the symbols finally spell the answer? The statues of the earlier clan were static things, carved from stone fixed in form. They were guardians of a boundary, markers designed to hold a line between the world above and the world below. The clan that built them, the clan that left behind the phrase, claiming 1,000 years of harmony, understood the importance of thresholds. But a boundary always implies an opposite side. It implies a place beyond, a space that must be contained. In the deep halls directly beneath the surface of Alph, that boundary is measurable. It is thin, and sometimes, without any warning at all, the silence on the other side begins to move. The slide puzzles of the ruins do not simply unlock a door, they trigger a collapse. The floor breaks away beneath the explorer, dropping them into a deeper, older layer of the buried complex. The tumble into darkness is sudden, a trap or a passage. It is here, in this sudden hollow space, cut directly into the ancient bedrock, that the first of the Unown appear. They do not emerge from a Pokeball or a bush or a shadow. They are simply there. One moment the air is empty. The next, a single form flickers into existence against the dark. A brief flash of deeper black against the gloom. A single unblinking eye. The shape of a letter. They are unlike any other Pokémon. They are floating, eye-like creatures. Their bodies are flat, almost two-dimensional, as if they exist partially outside of the depth of our perception. Their form is unmistakable. They are shaped precisely like the letters of an ancient alphabet. Every curve, every straight line corresponds to a character from a script that predates the modern written word. There are 26 distinct forms in the earliest documented encounters. Later expeditions catalogued additional shapes, an exclamation mark, a question mark, every letter of a language that communicates far more than simple sound. They drift with an eerie slowness through the dark halls. There is no rustle of fabric, no scrape of claws, no footstep. They glide through the stale air in perfect, absolute silence. The only sound in the chamber is the breathing of the observer, which feels heavy and loud and terribly organic in comparison to their quiet. Their single eye rotates slowly, scanning the darkness left and right and up and down. They watch the walls. They study the carvings. They focus on the living being who has stumbled into their domain. It is a patient observation, a staring that is not aggressive, but it is unrelenting. They do not startle. They do not flee. They simply hover, adjusting their orientation as if reading the space around them, or perhaps waiting for a specific configuration to form in the air. The Pokegear radio channel 13.5 plays a mysterious transmission near the ruins. It is static, but it is structured static, a pattern buried deep within the noise, a rhythm that repeats and flows like a language without vowels. Is it a call? Is it a broadcast from the Unown themselves? Tuning the dial towards the ruins changes the behavior of the wild Pokémon. In the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, the transmission forces half of the encountered Unown to take a form the trainer has not yet caught. The radio is not just noise. It is a reading tool, a means of decoding the language of the floating alphabet. It guides them. It shapes them. It pulls the missing letters out of the dark. They do not speak in any language we can recognize. They never cry out. They do not chirp or growl or hum. The only sound associated with their appearance is brief, sharp tone in the later games. But in the original experience, in the dark of the Game Boy screen, they are utterly silent. The quietest living things in the Pokémon world. And that silence is heavy. It is the silence of a held breath. The silence of a word waiting to be spoken into existence. And yet their very flesh is written speech. The alphabet is their anatomy. The message and the messenger are one and the same. To see an Unown is to read a letter, but the letter does not tell us what the word is. If you could assemble them in the correct order, would they finally spell out a coherent meaning? The ruins themselves are filled with ancient texts. Are the Unown the authors of those texts? Are they the curators? Or are they the text itself, having detached from the stone wall to wander these halls alone? There is an ancient phrase hidden in the floor, revealed only by the slide puzzles. It reads, escape. Another reads, friend. Another reads, life. Another reads, human. If the Unown are the living embodiment of this script, what does their presence mean? Are they the key to the escape? Are they the friend left behind by the vanished clan? Are they a warning to humanity, spelled out in living letters across the empty spaces? This leaves us with an unsettling contradiction. Are the Unown simply creatures, a rare and remote species of psychic Pokémon that happens to share its shape with human writing, an evolutionary quirk of staggering and precise coincidence? Are they symbols, living icons left behind by the ancient clan to serve as eternal scribes or silent guardians, a race of living words designed to protect the meaning of the place, long after the builders turn to dust? Or are they something far stranger still, words that have learned to live, alphabet made animate, the written thoughts of a dead civilization, given breath and eye and drift, wandering the halls of a tomb built for an idea? They are still waiting for someone to come along and finish the sentence, to complete the thought that was left behind 1,000 years ago. If they are words made alive, then the entire structure of the ruins of Alph is not simply a complex of stone and slide puzzles. It is a library of living letters, a dictionary of the dead, a message still being written every second of every day as the Unown arrange themselves in the darkness. They hover in the silence, turning their single eye to face the walls. They do not attack. They do not explain. They simply exist in the dark, patiently waiting for what comes next. Their presence begs a profound question. What language is this? Who wrote it? For whom was it intended? And if the letters are alive, what happens when someone finally learns to read them fluently? What does a sentence do once it is finished? Does it vanish? Does it cease to exist? Or does it come true? They drift through the darkness of the underground hall, not in silence exactly, but in a kind of absence of sound that is louder than any whisper. Their single eye turns toward you, and what you notice first, what you cannot unsee, is that their shapes are not random. They are letters, precise, deliberate, geometric forms that mimic the alphabet perfectly. 26 distinct shapes, each a different symbol, from A to Z, an entire alphabet hiding in the shadows of the ruins of Alph. You see the letter A as a sharp triangle with a jagged inner line, B as a curved, symmetrical pair of loops. Each letter is distinct, almost mechanical in its precision, as if drawn by a perfectly steady hand. But these are not carvings on a wall. They are living creatures, floating, observing, breathing the cold air of the underground. This is the first true puzzle of the ruins of Alph. The Unown are not just wild Pokémon. They are a written language, an ancient script that predates the modern world, encoded into living creatures. The architects of this place, the unknown clan that carved the halls 1,000 years ago, did not leave behind scrolls or books. They left behind the Unown, letters that float in the dark, letters that cannot be read until they are confronted directly, until they are caught. The cold air of the underground carries a scent of wet stone and ancient dust. The Unown do not disturb this silence. They simply exist within it, their single eye reflecting the dim light from your Pokégear. Each letter is a window into a forgotten age, a remnant of a language that has no speakers, only readers. You are the first person to read these words in millennia. The game divides the alphabet across the 4 chambers of the ruins. Each chamber is a room with a stone slide puzzle, carved from the same dark material as the walls. The tiles click against each other, a slow sound that echoes through the empty chambers. There is no timer, no pressure to hurry, just the slow, deliberate act of rearranging the symbols until they align. The images on the tiles depict ancient Pokémon, fossils, winged creatures and sea spirits. The statues that stand outside in the grass above are reflected in these puzzles below. Each puzzle, when solved, summons a specific subset of the Unown alphabet. In the first chamber, the completed puzzle calls forth the first 10 letters of the alphabet. From A to J, the stone grinds beneath your feet. The floor falls away, revealing a ladder down into the darkness. The Unown are already waiting there, drifting in a slow spiral. In the second chamber, the puzzle brings the next set. K through Q, the middle of the alphabet, appearing in the dark one by one. The third chamber summons R through W, and the fourth chamber, the deepest room, holds the final 3 letters, X, Y, and Z. It is not random. The architects divided the alphabet into 4 families, 4 movements, spread across these 4 chambers. A through J contains the simplest forms, the straight lines and sharp angles. K through Q introduces curves and intersections. R through W grows more complex. X, Y, and Z are the rarest, most abstract. The alphabet itself seems to evolve as you descend deeper into the earth. They wanted the discovery to be gradual, a slow unveiling. The puzzles themselves do not just open a door, they act as keys or frequencies. Complete the puzzle, and the stone recognizes you. It releases the letters it has been holding for centuries, maybe millennia, and the letters begin to circle. This is the heart of the Unown collection mechanic. It is not simply catching monsters. It is not filling a Pokédex entry one by one. It is an act of decipherment. You are learning to read the ruins. In the darkness, the collection of letters feels less like a Pokédex and more like a lexicon, a dictionary of a dead language that you are bringing back to life, one capture at a time. Every time you catch an Unown A, you are absorbing a piece of the language, a single character of an ancient text. The ruins have been waiting for someone to learn their script, to understand the fragments. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the process becomes even more explicit. The Pokégear radio, tuned to the mysterious transmission on channel 13.5, begins to broadcast a strange hum. When this transmission is active, the Unown react. Half of the Unown you encounter will be a form you have not yet caught. The ruins themselves are guiding your education, filling in the gaps of your reading, completing the alphabet for you. This is the act of decipherment made literal. The dimension of the Unown is aware of what you know and what you do not. It responds to your ignorance by providing the missing letters. It wants you to learn. It wants you to complete the set. Why? What happens when the alphabet is complete? By the time you have caught the final letter, the letter Z, the walls of the underground hall have become readable. Hidden text appears on the floor of the central chamber. Fragments of sentences, words that were invisible until the alphabet was complete. Escape, friend, life, human. These are not instructions, they are concepts. The clan placed these words here as a message to the future. But what were they trying to say? Without grammar, without context, the words are simply stones, pieces of a larger story that is now gone. The 4 puzzles unlock the entire set of 26 forms. The Unown themselves are the medium. The alphabet is the message, and the message is trapped in the stone, waiting for someone to read it out loud, to hold the letters in their hands or in their Pokeball and finally understand. The connection between capture and comprehension is the deepest mystery of the ruins. The language is not spoken, it is encountered. The letters are not written. They appear, they drift, they watch. They do not attack, they simply observe. Their eye is always on you. They drift in patterns that suggest a slow dance, or a slow calculation? Are they counting you? Are they reading you? When you have seen all 26 faces of the unknown, you have effectively read the first sentence of the ruins of Alph. You have learned the alphabet, but the alphabet is only the first layer. The 26 letters are the core, the foundation, but the alphabet itself is not entirely complete. In later years, after the discovery of the original 26, 2 more forms emerge, an exclamation point and a question mark. The ruins themselves are a question. The Unown begin to embody that punctuation. The question mark is the defining character of the entire site. Everything here is a question. The purpose of the clan, the nature of the Unown, the message of the words on the floor. It is the final form you will encounter, and it is the only form that perfectly describes the experience of exploring the ruins of Alph. The letters spin in the dark. Your collection is complete. The alphabet is learned, but the transmission continues to play on channel 13.5, a low hum, a frequency, a voice from the darkness. The sound itself is a text, a signal that predates the puzzles and the statues. It is the voice of the ruins when no one is there to read the letters, a frequency that calls to the unknown, a sound that waits in the dark, patient and unknown, drifting through the halls just like the 26 faces of the unknown themselves. The 26 letters of the unknown alphabet form a complete set, but there are 2 more symbols beyond that alphabet, marks added in later generations. The exclamation point and the question mark appear in the 3rd and 4th generations, but only after you have captured every alphabetic form. When all 26 letters are in your possession, these punctuation marks begin to appear in the wild, floating among the familiar shapes. The exclamation point suggests surprise, a reaction to discovery. The question mark suggests doubt, a lingering uncertainty. They are the final punctuation of the mystery, astonishment and uncertainty combined. The unknown acknowledge your completion of the alphabet with these 2 symbols, as if to say, you have done something remarkable, but what does it mean? This raises a profound question. Was the unknown alphabet ever intended for human eyes? Were we meant to complete the set? Or are we intruding on a system of communication that belongs only to the unknown themselves? The puzzles in the ruins are deliberately placed, and the ancient texts speak of harmony between people and Pokémon 1,000 years ago, but the response after completion is not an answer but a question. The exclamation point and question mark are the only non-letter symbols among the unknown. They transcend the alphabet, adding tone and emotion to the abstract forms. The ruins themselves become a dialogue. The floor texts uncovered in Heart Gold and Soul Silver speak of escape, friend, life, human. These words are fragments, but the punctuation from the unknown gives them weight. The exclamation point adds urgency. The question mark adds doubt. And so, after gathering all 26 faces of the unknown, you are left not with clarity, but with more mystery. The exclamation point celebrates, and the question mark challenges. The alphabet of the unknown may be a key, but the lock it opens is not of this world. Beyond the letters and their punctuation, there is something else in the ruins, a signal that echoes through the stone, without words or symbols. But that signal is its own mystery. In the ruins of Alph, the radio can receive a strange broadcast, unlike any ordinary station. It is not music and it is not a human voice. It is a sequence of warped tones, rhythmic pulses, and electronic cries that seem almost alive. The sound is easy to dismiss as static, but it arrives only in this sacred place. That alone makes it difficult to ignore. The signal seems to connect the unknown to something larger than writing. Their bodies resemble letters, yet their presence is not limited to language. They gather in chambers hidden beneath ancient puzzles. They react to completed collections. They emerge from walls, vanish into darkness, and communicate through forms no one fully understands. The broadcast suggests that their true message may not be read at all. Perhaps it must be heard. There is an unsettling quality to the sound. It does not offer a translation, a clear instruction, or a friendly greeting. Instead, it gives the impression of a transmission leaking through from somewhere distant. Maybe the ruins amplify it. Maybe the Unown create it. Or maybe the creatures are responding to a signal that existed long before the first researcher entered these halls. That possibility changes how the alphabet. The letters may not be an alphabet in the human sense. Humans see familiar shapes and assume they have found a code, but the Unown could be imitating our symbols rather than using them. They might be reflecting the thoughts of anyone who encounters them, taking forms that are recognizable only because our minds need them to be. If so, the ruins are not simply an ancient library. They are a place where meaning is shaped by the observer. The texts carved throughout the ruins make this even stranger. They speak in simple words, yet those words touch enormous ideas: friendship, creation, departure, and life. Each message feels incomplete, like a surviving piece of a much larger conversation. The Unown do not provide the missing pages. They leave us with fragments, sounds, and symbols, inviting us to make connections that may or may not be real. Perhaps that is why the Unown are so compelling. Most Pokémon can be understood through behavior. They battle, eat, travel, protect territory, or form bonds with people. The Unown resist every ordinary explanation. They have few visible emotions, little individuality, and no clear purpose outside the Play-Doh where ancient mysteries gather. Even their name is a riddle. They are called Unown because they are unknown, but the name also suggests something more deliberate. Things that have yet to be known. Across the world of Pokémon, ruins are often reminders of the past. They preserve stories of kings, disasters, legendary Pokémon, and vanished civilizations. The ruins of Alph feel different. Their history does not stay buried. It watches. It reacts. Every solved puzzle opens another number. Every captured form reveals another possibility. And every attempt to understand the place seems to deepen the silence around it. The signal in the stone may be the closest thing the ruins have to a voice. It does not speak in sentences, because sentences might be too small for what it is trying to express. It may be a warning. It may be an invitation. It may be the sound of countless Unown calling to one another across a distance no map can measure. And if that is true, then the final question is not what the Unown are saying. The final question is who or what is listening on the other end. The exclamation point and the question mark lend the Unown alphabet a voice. The full set of 28 forms transforms a lexicon of symbols into a system capable of expression. The presence of these punctuation marks suggests the Unown are not just writing themselves, but are capable of forming complete statements. This sense of active communication recontextualizes the purpose of the 4 stone puzzles. In the lore of Pokémon Crystal, the description surrounding these puzzles is specific. They are not merely obstacles or locks designed to keep the unworthy out. They are signals. The act of rearranging the tiles is not a test of intelligence meant to measure the solver. It is an activation sequence designed to complete a circuit. Each solved image acts as a frequency, a specific visual tone keyed to a harmonic that the Unown recognize. When the final piece slides into place, the circuit closes. The floor collapses not as a simple trap to drop an intruder, but as a mechanical response to a successful call. The machine has accepted the sequence. The way is opened. The Unown emerge into the space that has been tuned to receive them. This reframes the entire purpose of the ruins of Alph. The ancient builders were not simply carving Pokémon statues or constructing tombs to honor the dead. They were engineers constructing a device, a machine capable of calling beings from elsewhere. The stone panels are the interface. The 4 chambers act as tuning forks, each aligned to a different subset of the Unown language. The hidden hall below is the receiving dish, the point where the signal resolves into a physical response. The entire ruins of Alph function as a summoning apparatus, a beacon left pulsing in the low frequencies of stone and space. Which brings us to a difficult question. A machine needs an operator. Who was supposed to stand here and send this call? The clan who built this place left statues and texts, but they did not leave themselves. The puzzles are in public chambers, accessible to anyone who finds them. but they were built for a specific purpose. Was the operator meant to be a descendant of the 5 ladies of Asuka, a bloodline meant to carry the song, or was the signal intended for a receiver that never arrived? This machine sat dormant for centuries. The silence was broken only by the strange transmissions that leak from the stones, the hum picked up by a modern radio tuned to channel 13.5. It suggests the machine was left in standby, waiting for an activation that never came from its intended creators. The signal was ready, but the sender had vanished. The stone sat silent until a traveller from another time walked into the chamber and unknowingly completed the circuit. And when that circuit finally closed, the machine did not simply summon the unknown, it released a correspondence. The signal was sent, and the reply took the form of words. Fragments pressed into the dust of the underground floor, written in the same alphabet as the beings that were summoned. The builders had left their final message in the language of the machine they created. Escape, friend, human life. It reads like a confession, or perhaps a warning from a civilization that had finally understood what it meant to call. Across the silence, the signal was never just a summons. It was an archive of words waiting for someone to finally listen. If those words are a warning, then the ruins of Alph become far more unsettling than an ancient shrine. Escape is not the word left by a people who believed they had mastered their creation. Friend is not necessarily an invitation. It may be a plea directed towards something beyond the walls of the chamber. Human and life suggest that the builders understood the difference between themselves and the beings they contacted. They were human. The unknown, whatever they truly are, belonged to another category entirely. Perhaps the ancient clan discovered that language itself was the bridge, not spoken language, but symbols arranged with intention. They learned that certain forms could resonate across distances that no road, ocean, or sky could cross. At first, the discovery may have seemed miraculous. A mark on stone produced an answer. A sequence of shapes caused living symbols to appear. The unknown may have seemed harmless, even helpful. A silent presence responding to the thoughts of those who called them. But communication is never neutral. To send a message is to reveal that someone is there. Every signal sent into the dark can invite a reply, and not every reply is one that can be understood. The builders may have opened a door without knowing what stood on the other side. Their final words could be the surviving fragments of a larger sentence, broken apart by time and scattered through the ruins. Escape, friend, human, life. 4 words that may describe a meeting, a disaster, or a desperate attempt to preserve the memory of what happened. And there is another possibility. The message may not have been left by the builders at all. The unknown themselves could be the authors. If they are living letters, then perhaps they do not merely represent language. Perhaps language is their natural state. Every word formed by unknown could be a thought given shape, a consciousness assembling itself from symbols. The inscriptions beneath the ruins may be their attempt to speak through a medium humans can recognize. That would mean the ancient machine was never only a beacon aimed outward, it was also a translator. The ruins allowed humans to call the unknown, but they may have allowed the unknown to answer in return. The puzzle chambers, the radio signal, the strange lettering on the walls, all of it becomes part of a conversation that has continued for centuries. A conversation interrupted by the disappearance of one side, but never truly ended. The traveller who solves the puzzles does not discover a forgotten civilization. They resume its final transmission. If the slide puzzles are signals, then we have to ask ourselves what those signals are actually saying. The floor give way. We hear the strange chittering of the unknown, filling the darkness below. But the signal itself is not just a summoning. The signal leaves a mark in an alphabet no one taught you. In the Heart Gold and Soul Silver versions of the games, after the puzzle stones are perfectly aligned, something shifts in the chamber. The floor does not just collapse, it changes. The surface of the stone rearranges itself, or catches the light differently. revealing text that was hidden in plain sight. Unknown text. The same shapes that float through the underground halls are suddenly carved into the floor where you stand. They did not write this message with ink or chisel. They wrote it by being solved, as if the act of completing the image is the key that allows the transmission to be read. What these messages say is sparse. Each chamber holds its own word. One room simply contains the word escape, another shows the word friend, a third spells out life, and the fourth chamber reveals the word human. These are not full sentences. There is no grammar here, no syntax, no soothing explanation. They are fragments, nouns dropped at the feet of whoever finds them. When you see them standing alone in that silent stone room, they do not feel like answers. They feel like warnings. They feel like an emergency message that has been broken by time. Think about the weight of each word. Escape. The word suggests a prison, a vault, a disaster. What happened here that something needed to leave so urgently? The escape is stated as a fact, not a request. It is a headline from a catastrophe we never witnessed. Friend. The word that follows escape is friend, not ally, not master. Friend. A relationship of equals. The ruins are trying to classify the person reading this as something familiar, something trusted. The message is desperate, but it is not hostile. It reaches out. Life. The ruins are full of unknown. Unknown are life in its most abstract, lettered form. Each form is a letter. Each letter is a living entity. But the word life here feels urgent, as if it needs to be protected, or remembered, or recreated. The final word, the identifier of the reader. The ruins were built by humans and Pokémon together, but the message itself seems to be from something else, addressing us directly. Human. It singles us out. We are not players. We are not visitors. We are humans. A letter addressed to our entire species. The written texts found elsewhere in the ruins of Alph tell us that 1,000 years ago, people and Pokémon lived in harmony right here, but the messages hidden in the puzzle chambers do not speak of that harmony. They speak of fracture. The full story is lost. The civilization is gone. What remains of their history is not a coherent document. It is splinters of meaning. The unknown echo what they remember, but memory decays. Over 1,000 years, a sentence might erode down to a single word. A plea might erode down to a noun. These 4 words in an alphabet, no one taught. You are not the complete history of the ruins of Alph. They are the only history that survived. It is the equivalent of finding a single page from a book, torn and water damaged, with only the most intense words still readable. What was the sentence? We will never know. The connection between the words has been severed. Only the emergency remains. The only continuity between that lost civilization and the present day is the unknown themselves. They drift through the halls, letter by letter, carrying these splinters of a story they may not fully understand. They are the dictionary of a language that has lost its book. The message on the floor is just the echo. The source of the sound is still drifting through the chambers. The unknown are not just the alphabet. They are the speakers. They are the ones trying to complete the sentence. And as long as they float through the dark, the message is not truly finished. It is ongoing. A transmission that began 1,000 years ago and still has not found its final frequency. Among the words that appear in unknown text across the chamber floors, friend, life and human each carry their own meaning. They speak of intimacy, existence and identity. But it is the 4th word, EEK, that signals alarm. This single word dominates the conversation around the ruins because it does not simply appear, it insists. When the 4 slide puzzles are solved, the translation reveals these words, embedded in the floor. The first 3 could be read as affirmations. They might be the values of the ancient clan who lived here: friendship, life, humanity. But escape breaks that pattern. It is the only one that suggests departure. Consider the possibility that escape refers to leaving the ruins themselves. Perhaps the chambers were a place of incubation or experimentation. An escape was meant to be taken literally. The puzzles might have been tests, and solving them was the only way out. But that does not match the experience of the explorer. Solving the puzzle drops you deeper into the ruins. It does not lead upward, so if escape is the goal, the puzzles do not achieve it. They bury you farther into the earth. Another possibility is escape from another dimension. The Unown are interdimensional beings. Their connection to planes beyond our own is well documented. The puzzles themselves are described in Pokémon Crystal as signals that summon the Unown. Perhaps the word escape is a description of that summoning ritual. Something is being allowed to escape from its native dimension into ours. Through these puzzles, the word becomes a label for the event itself, a name for the boundary that is being crossed. What about escape from disaster? The ancient texts within the ruins speak of a golden age 1,000 years past, when harmony existed between people and Pokémon. That era ended. Something changed. The word escape might be a warning against repeating the past, a reminder to flee from the mistakes of history, or it could be a survivor's cry left by those who did escape to mark the place as unsafe, a warning carved in stone for anyone who comes after. Then there is the most profound reading: escape from mortality itself. The ruins are a kind of tomb, a structure built to transcend time. The puzzles themselves depict images of Pokémon that no longer appear in that region or that bear ancient forms. To escape mortality is to become something eternal, like the Unown themselves. The Unown exist as abstract shapes beyond the cycle of life and death. They are not born and they do not perish. Perhaps the word escape refers to that transformation, to the dissolution of the self into a form that is no longer bound by time. But who wrote this warning? Was it the ancient clan who carved the puzzles and constructed the chambers? They left statues outside and built the slide puzzles as a form of communication. But did they also leave this written message? Or did the Unown themselves generate the words? The Unown are the embodiment of letters, but they do not speak. They hover and observe. They respond to signals, but they do not initiate. Could a third party be responsible? Someone trapped in the interstitial space between dimensions, using the Unown as a medium to communicate with explorers who enter the ruins. The word escape reads like a warning from a prisoner, a being caught in the in-between, begging for release or warning others not to follow. And this brings us back to the image of the floor breaking beneath your feet. The moment of collapse is sudden. The stone floor gives way with a crack, and you fall into the darkness below. In that instant, the ruins have made a decision for you. You cannot stay in the chamber above. You are invited downward, deeper into the underground hall where the Unown gather. But the word escape suggests you should have resisted. The ruins are designed to pull you in, while simultaneously warning you away. It is a trap laid in plain sight, a contradiction made of stone and age. At the nearby research center, the scholars study the ruins using modern tools. But the older stories remember that tuning the Pokégear radio to channel 13.5 near the ruins produces a strange transmission. It is not music and it is not speech. It is a distorted signal, perhaps the voice of the ruins themselves. Some who have heard it say it carries the same word, Iskap, repeated in a frequency that exists beyond ordinary language, a cyclic message echoing through the chambers. And so the word as ZCAPE hangs over everything else found in the ruins of Alph. It colours every other inscription. Friend, life and human take on darker tones when seen in its shadow. The ruins are not simply a relic of the past. They are an active site of contradiction. They welcome and they warn. They offer a path downward and then question why you took it. The greatest mystery may not be what the ruins hold, but what they are holding in. The message is clear. Something in this place is a prison, and the only word that truly matters is the one that names the door. The word escape lingers in the chamber. It is the loudest whisper the silence the puzzles leave behind, but it does not stand alone. When the floor collapses and the dust settles, the light from the Unown reveals three other words carved into the stone: friend, life, human. Together, they feel less like a sequence of warnings and more like a sequence of thoughts. left by a forgotten mind, a quiet meditation etched by someone who knew something we do not. If the ancient builders used these words as a final testament, what story were they telling themselves? The words are foundational. They are not complex vocabulary. They are the core pillars of any civilization, any relationship. It is as if a mind, facing its final moments, boiled existence down to its essential components. First, you must seek to escape. But what do you escape toward? What do you hold on to when you do? The second word is friend. The ancient texts found within the research center in the modern day confirm the ethos of this place. 1,000 years in the past, people and Pokémon lived in harmony here. Friend is the inscription of that bond. It might seem an anachronism if the words were merely meant to be read by the modern visitor, because we already know about the partnership between humans and Pokémon. But friend here seems deeper. It might be a direct address to the unknown. The puzzles in the chambers do not depict humans. They depict Pokémon. Kabuto, Ammonite, Aerodactyl, Ho-Oh. These are the images the builders chose to place on the walls. The unknown themselves are the friends left behind. The word might be a promise, a reassurance to the unknown that they are not forgotten, or it might be a label for the very concept of the bond, etched into the foundation of the dimension itself. But then, life. This is the word that transforms the context. If the unknown are simply alphabet blocks, why would the concept of life matter here? Because the unknown are not merely symbols, they are living creatures. The word life suggests that whoever built this place understood that the unknown were animated by a force beyond simple linguistics. In the Pokémon world, unknown are connected to the very fabric of reality. They have appeared outside of Johto, in the Salacian ruins of Sinnoh. They can warp space and time. In the anime, a collective of unknown shaped reality around a young girl's dreams. Life is the confirmation that these stone carvings are not just writing, they are a biosphere. The unknown are alive in a way that transcends our understanding of Pokémon biology. They are thoughts given form. And finally, human. This is the most complicated word in the sequence. Human stands in contrast to friend and life. It is the source of the conflict hinted at by escape. Was human the beginning of the relationship? We are human. You are Pokémon. Let us be friends. Or was human the cause of the ancient betrayal? The clan who built the statues in the caves, they were human. The ambition that led to the sealing of the unknown, or the reason for the escape, was human. In the lore of the ruins of Alph, the builders remain the central mystery. The 5 ladies of Asuka, the ancestors of the kimono girls. What did they do? The word human feels like a signature of guilt. It is the species that disturbed the peace. The word might be a confession. It was us. We are the ones who caused this. So the full sentence, left in the silent glow of the underground chamber, reads: escape, friend, life, human. It can be read as a chronological history. There was a golden age of friendship and life. Then humanity acted. Now the only option is escape, or it can be read as a mantra. Escape the ruin, remember the friend, respect the life, but beware the human. This ambiguity is the heart of the ruins of Alph. The text does not explain itself. It merely presents the evidence. These words are etched in the Unown's own alphabet. The alphabet itself is the key. The letters are the medium of the message. What does it mean that the creatures who live in this dimension are themselves the letters of a language? That the language itself is alive? The puzzles in the chambers do not just summon unknown. They translate intent into form. The wall texts are written using the unknown as the medium. It suggests that the unknown are not just inhabitants of the ruins. They are the language of the ruins. They are the language of something else entirely, a voice that speaks across dimensions. The conversation did not end in the past. In the present day, there is a radio signal, a specific frequency on the Pokégear, channel 13.5. Near the ruins, it is just static, but inside the chambers, the signal interacts with the unknown in a measurable way. When the mysterious transmission is active, the unknown shift their behavior. They refuse to show their old forms, forcing the receiver to collect the ones they are missing. The transmission is not random interference. It is an active broadcast. If the words on the floor are a message from the past, the transmission might be a message from the present, a signal still being broadcast from within the dimension. The unknown are the antenna, the alphabet is the code, and the sound on channel 13.5 might be an attempt to write a new sentence. We ended our last story with the fragments of an ancient mind, friend, life, human, a sequence that feels less like a language lesson and more like a whisper across time. But if those words describe the bond formed in that 1,000-year-old settlement, the question becomes not just what was felt here, but who is left to remember it. The ruins themselves are not keeping this legacy alone. A short walk from the main chambers, up the grassy slope near the entrance of Route 36, sits a small modern building, the ruins of Alph Research Center. This is not a grand museum. It is small, practical, tucked into the landscape, as if the builders knew the mystery deserved a quiet observer rather than a loud attraction. Inside, the walls are lined with books on ancient Johto history, filing cabinets of field notes, and computer terminals running analysis software on the Unown's behavioral patterns. The researchers here are not adventurers, they are academics. They catalogue the arrival times of the Unown. They cross-reference the slide puzzle solutions with the resulting Pokémon encounters. They have managed to translate the hidden messages, escape, friend, life, human, and trace the lineage of the 5 ladies of Asuka whose ancestors may have carved these very halls. Every tool of modern archaeology has been applied to this site, and yet the building itself feels like a small boat anchored in the middle of a very deep ocean, because outside the windows of the research center, the supernatural does not wait, it performs. The Unown appear at specific times, triggered by the completion of the puzzles, but their behavior is not mechanical, it is responsive, it learns. In the era of Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the researchers could observe a strange phenomenon for the first time. When the mysterious transmission from channel 13.5 was played, the Unown would shift their form specifically to shapes the trainer had not yet seen. It was as if the transmission did not just summon the Unown, but connected them to the observer's own progress, their own knowledge. The transmission was not a broadcast, it was a conversation. The scientists can measure the frequency, they can record the static and pitch, but the conversation itself remains indecipherable. The creature being studied is also watching the student. The data being collected is being shaped by the act of collection itself. This is where the scientific method begins to fracture. Even now, with the translations completed, with the puzzles solved countless times, with the underground chamber mapped, and the Arceus event triggered, and the connection to the Sinjo ruins established, the researchers have no final explanation. They cannot tell you why the Unown are shaped like letters. They can't confirm whether the Unown created the ruins or the ruins created the Unown. They cannot say with certainty whether the dimension the puzzles unlock is a pocket of reality or the collective mind of a god. They have collected every alphabetic form, the standard 26, and even the elusive exclamation point and question mark that appear only after the alphabet is complete. They have seen the floor open. They have heard the transmission. They have walked the underground halls, and they have walked back out again with more questions than they entered with. The research center is not a failure. It is a reminder that evidence does not always lead to certainty. It is possible to have all the pieces and still be unable to see the full picture. The researchers have the pieces. They know that 1,000 years ago, people and Pokémon lived here in harmony. They know the ancient clan created the statues outside. They know the Unown are linked to Arceus, the original being of myth. But this knowledge is like knowing the letters of an alphabet. Without knowing the language they form, you can trace the shapes, you can record the sounds, but the meaning remains just out of reach. The ruins of Alph do not yield their secrets to analysis. They demand something else, a different kind of attention, a patient, almost reverent listening that the instruments in the research center were never designed to perform, so the research center sits and watches. The lights stay on late into the night, the computers hum, the researchers take their notes, and just outside in the dark, the Unown continue their silent drift between the fallen stones. The puzzles wait to be rearranged. The transmission waits on 13.5. The evidence is everywhere. The certainty is nowhere. And that gap, that hollow space between what is known and what is understood, is where the true mystery of the ruins of Alph has always lived. Not in the text, not in the transmission, but in the quiet of a building full of answers that do not quite fit. There is a frequency on the Pokégear receiver that does not resolve into music, news, or any recognizable broadcast. It sits quietly between the standard channels, a space on the dial marked only by the absence of expectation. Channel 13.5. The research center stands within viewing distance of the ruins, a facility filled with computational analysis and the rigid frameworks of modern archaeology. The scholars there study the Unown, photograph the puzzles, and archive the translated text. But their instruments are designed for the known world. They measure electromagnetic fields, seismic activity, and atmospheric pressure. They do not have the equipment to listen to the frequency that is reserved for the player alone. When the player arrives at the ruins, they carry with them a Pokégear. It is a multi-purpose device, a map and a phone and a radio. And if the player scrolls through the channels while standing on the grassy slopes of Route 36, or inside the echoic chambers of the ruins themselves, they will find channel 13.5. Tuning into it does not bring in a station. It does not bring in a voice. It invites the silence of the ruins to press into the speaker, and that silence is not empty. The sound that comes through is a low, granular static. It has no melody that the ear can follow. No voice speaks through the noise. No Pokémon cry breaks the surface of the broadcast. It is an ambiguous, alien signal, a transmission that lacks any recognizable language, rhythm, or intent. You might turn the volume up, trying to pass a hidden whisper, a pattern in the hiss, but it stubbornly remains an impenetrable wall of vague radio energy. It is the sound of something that does not want to be heard clearly, or perhaps it is the sound of something that has forgotten how to speak in frequencies that the human mind can process. You search for a pattern, a beat, a message within the static, but nothing coherent ever resolves. It is simply the sound of the ruins speaking on a frequency that nobody else is using. What makes the mysterious transmission so unsettling is its location. It can be heard on the surface, out in the open air, where the wind blows through the tall grass and over the old stone structures. It can be heard with the exact same strength deep underground, in the chambers where the slide puzzles lock into place and the floor gives way to the darkness of the pocket dimension below. The signal does not get stronger or weaker as you move. It is perfectly consistent. It is not radiating from a tower. There is no radio mast hidden among the ruins. The signal seems to come from the earth itself, as if the entire landscape is a single massive transmitter broadcasting its low hum on a loop that has not stopped for centuries. This leads to a quiet suspicion for anyone who listens closely to the Pokégear in the dark of the ruins. The device is not receiving a station that happens to broadcast near the ruins. The radio is picking up an echo, a sound that is bouncing up from beneath the stone, from somewhere deeper than the puzzle chambers, deeper than the research basement, somewhere the archaeologists have never been able to dig. An echo implies a source, a voice that made the original sound. In the context of the ruins of Alph, that source is almost certainly the Unown. They are the only known inhabitants of the deepest parts of the site. They exist in a space that seems to bend the rules of normal geography, a dimension accessed only by the triggering of the ancient puzzle mechanisms. If the Unown are connected to the very fabric of reality in that place, their existence might generate a resonant frequency, a white noise hum that the walls have absorbed over thousands of years, like a stone recording of their presence. The radio is not hearing the Unown directly. It is hearing the pressure of their existence, pressing against the physical world, an imprint of their psychic weight left behind in the atoms of the ruins. For the player, this transforms the ruins from a solved puzzle into an ongoing mystery. The slides can be completed, the hidden text can be translated, the unknown can be caught and catalogued, but the radio signal remains, always there, always playing, never revealing its message. It is the one element of the ruins that cannot be resolved. It cannot be collected. It cannot be silenced. It simply sits on the dial, an eternal open channel to whatever lies beneath Alph, a reminder that the deepest explanations for the ruins may still be sealed under the stone. The player stands in the dim light of the underground chamber, holding the Pokégear up to their ear, listening to the formless noise. It is the only audio evidence that the ruins are alive with something the eye cannot see. It turns an ordinary visit to an old stone structure into an encounter with the purely strange. The silence of Alph is not empty. It is filled with a broadcast that has been playing to an empty room for millennia. When the player finally falls through the broken floor into the domain of the unknown, the transmission stops being a distant echo and becomes the very air around them. The unknown do not just live in the ruins. They are the source of the signal. They are the resonance that the stone cannot contain. The sound on channel 13.5 is the vibration of the wall between their dimension and ours, leaking through the cracks in reality. The Pokégear has simply found the crack and amplified it. The voice on the radio is the voice of an entire species, pressed into the static, waiting for someone to turn the dial to the right frequency and listen. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Tuning to channel 13.5 in the ruins of Alph is by itself an unsettling experience. The static washes over the stone walls, a sound without form or meaning. But in the remakes, Heart Gold and Soul Silver, this static takes on a purpose that is far from random. It becomes a beacon. When the mysterious transmission is active during your exploration of the underground chambers, the behavior of the wild unknown changes in a very specific way. The game looks at your Pokédex, at the collection you have assembled so far, and it adjusts the encounter rate. Instead of a purely random distribution of letters, half of the unknown you encounter will be forms you have not yet caught. The signal seems to draw out the missing shapes. It calls the absent letters out of the darkness. If you are missing the letter Q, the static frequencies of the transmission seem to coax exactly that form out of the dimensional space the unknown inhabit. This transforms the radio entirely. It is no longer just a source of background ambience, a bit of eerie flavour for an old location. It is a tool for discovery, a key that unlocks the collection. It subtly reshapes the reality inside the ruins based on your own progress. The signal is guiding you, specifically, through the alphabet. And this raises a profound question about the relationship between the listener and the signal. The player tunes the radio. The player activates the transmission. It feels like an act of seeking. You are exploring this space, using the frequency to fill the gaps in your own knowledge. But consider the other perspective. The transmission is already here, waiting on channel 13.5. It is not a message you created. It is a frequency you stepped into. So, is the player the one doing the guiding? Or are the unknown the ones doing the calling? The radio is a tool in your hands, but the signal itself might be an ancient voice that knows exactly what you are missing. The unknown might recognize the listener, not as a master, but as a participant in a pattern they are completing. If the unknown are actively drawing the missing pieces of their alphabet toward the listener, then the ruins are not just a habitat. They are a gate, and the transmission is the mechanism by which that gate opens. The question of who built it, and why the puzzle of the alphabet is so deeply integrated into the experience of the ruins, remains pressing. If the unknown can be guided by a signal broadcast on a human device, it suggests a very deep connection between the technology of today and the architecture of a civilization that vanished over 2,000 years ago. That connection becomes even stranger when you look at the way the ruins of Alph communicate. The ancient inscriptions are not simply decorative markings. They can be translated. They offer instructions, warnings, and fragments of meaning to anyone patient enough to arrange the sliding panels and read what has been left behind. The builders expected someone to return. They expected a future visitor to understand that these walls were saying something. Yet the radio transmission does not behave like an inscription. It cannot be read in the usual sense. It is a sound, an intrusion of static that only gains meaning through its effect on the unknown. The ruins speak through symbols, while the signal speaks through behavior. One tells you that a hidden chamber exists. The other changes what emerges when you enter it. Together, they create a conversation between past and present. The modern Pokégear is not an artifact designed for the ruins of Alph. It is an ordinary piece of technology carried across Johto by trainers, travelers, and children. And somehow, when it is tuned to this exact frequency beneath the ancient stone, it becomes part of the ruins system. That is difficult to dismiss as coincidence. Either the Unown are responding to the radio itself, adapting their behavior to a signal from a world they should not understand, or the transmission has always been waiting for a device capable of receiving it. That possibility makes channel 13.5 feel less like a broadcast station and more like a threshold. There may be no announcer on the other side, no tower transmitting from a nearby route. There may only be the Unown, sending a pattern through the silence and waiting for someone to tune in. The static is not empty because it lacks a message. It is empty because the message is not made of words. And perhaps that is why the missing forms matter so much. The signal does not merely help complete a Pokédex entry. It seems to respond to absence. It detects an incomplete sequence and corrects it. Every letter collected changes the nature of the next encounter. As though the ruins are keeping track of a larger design, the player believes they are cataloguing creatures, but the Unown may be cataloguing the player in return. They are measuring which symbols have been seen, which remain unknown, and which piece must appear next to bring the pattern closer to completion. In that light, catching every form is not a simple act of collection. It is an act of participation. You are assembling an alphabet that may have been scattered deliberately across the chambers. You are proving that you can recognize each shape, follow each instruction, and answer a signal that has survived long after its creators disappeared. The ruins of Alph never fully explain what waits at the end of that process. They leave the player with stone rooms, strange puzzles, and a radio frequency that seems to know more than it should. But perhaps the uncertainty is the point. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved by finding a final answer. Some are meant to be entered, one missing letter at a time. The mysterious transmission on channel 13.5 does not simply scratch at the air. It calls. It reaches into the silence of the ruins and demands a response. The Unown respond. They shift. They arrive in forms you have not yet seen, as if the signal is pulling them from deeper waters. This brings us to a question that sits at the very heart of the ruins of Alph. What are these ruins really? Most of the surface level looks like a tomb or a temple complex, an ancient settlement where people once lived alongside Pokémon in harmony. But the behavior of the space itself suggests something far stranger. What if the ruins are not a grave for the past, but a door, a gateway into a dimension that belongs entirely to the Unown? Consider the mechanics of how we enter the deepest parts of the ruins. You stand before the slide puzzle. You arrange the panels. The stones are ancient, but the mechanism works perfectly. Every piece fits. When the image is completed, the floor beneath you gives way. It falls. You drop into a chamber below. This is not an accident of decay. This is a design transition, a constructed threshold. The puzzle is a key. The falling floor is the act of crossing, a physical boundary dissolving beneath your feet. Immediately upon landing, the Unown appear. They are already there, waiting. The same sequence plays out in 4 separate rooms, 4 puzzles, 4 falling floors, 4 summonings. The layout is too deliberate to ignore. The 4 chambers are not separate tombs for separate people. They are 4 tuning forks, aimed at the same resonance point. Every time a floor falls, you step closer to the space they inhabit. The mysterious transmission on channel 13.5 functions in exactly the same way. It is an audible puzzle, an acoustic key that opens the same door without requiring the physical stones to move. The radio waves fill the atmosphere of the ruins. The Unown respond to it. In Heart Gold and Soul Silver, the transmission actively reshapes the population of Unown, pulling in forms the player has not yet encountered. The signal does not just summon them, it selects them. It reaches deeper into their dimension and brings back unfamiliar shapes. An ancient clan built these mechanisms, the same clan that carved the words into the walls, the same women whose statues stand guard outside. They understood that the boundary between our world and the unknown dimension could be weakened. They built focusing lenses out of stone. They carved frequencies into the earth. They created a system that could open a door without needing a handle. When you land in the underground hall, the space feels incomplete. It is not a throne room. It is not a treasury. There are no beds, no altars, no signs of daily life. The walls are bare, except for the inscriptions. The floor is wide and flat, like a stage waiting for an audience. The Unown do not emerge from a specific doorway. They do not crawl out of a tunnel. They materialize around you, often facing you, watching. This suggests the underground hall is not a destination at all. It is an interface, a place where 2 worlds are close enough to touch. You are standing inside the connection point. The chamber is the membrane. Every stone was placed to align the space with their frequency. The darkness of the hall is not just the absence of light. It is the visual echo of the gap between dimensions. A room designed to hold the weight of 2 realities pressing against each other. This reframes every single encounter with an Unown. They are not strictly wild Pokémon in the traditional sense. They do not nest in the grass. They do not lay eggs. They do not have a breeding cycle that we can observe in the wild. They exist somewhere else, a space that is not quite Johto, not quite any region we can map. The ruins are a window. Every time you see an Unown, it is a brief crossing, a glance from the other side, a traveller whose normal state is to be absent from our physical laws. The Solacean ruins in Sinnoh echo this exact design. The Sinjo ruins blend the geometries of 2 regions and connect directly to the creation of the universe itself. The pattern is consistent across generations. The Unown are everywhere and nowhere. They step through wherever the architecture allows. Their presence is a symptom of a thinning wall, so the theory solidifies into a single picture. The ruins of Alph are a door between dimensions. The 4 slide puzzles are the locking mechanisms. The falling floors are the turning of the handle. The mysterious transmission is the voice, calling through the crack in the door. And the underground hall is the space where the door is wide open. This explains why the puzzles exist. It explains why the radio works. It explains why the Unown appear with such specific purpose. The entire site was constructed as a single device, a portal, not to another place on the map of Johto, but to a dimension that shares the same space as ours, a layer folded beneath the visible world. If this is true, then the inscriptions on the walls take on a much heavier meaning. The word escape is not just a message left by a prisoner or a warning from the builders. It could be a description of the Unown themselves, creatures escaping into our reality, or it could be a plea, a command sent from the dimension beyond the door, a request to be let out, or a warning to those who might enter. The messages are fragments: friend, life, you. They are not random. They are the vocabulary of contact, a civilization trying to define itself, or a civilization trying to describe what it found on the other side. Perhaps the clan built the door, stepped through, and only had time to send a few words back before the connection closed, which leaves us with the Unown themselves. Their bodies are letters. They are symbols that represent sound and meaning. Every alphabet is a system of representing the invisible. Thoughts made visible, sound made permanent. The unknown do not just live in the ruins. They are the ruins. The architecture is their alphabet. The puzzles are their syntax. The underground hall is the space where the sentence is being formed. We are standing inside a message written in a language where the letters are alive, and the grammar is made of stone, and the sentence is not finished yet. The door is still open. The door between dimensions stands open. In the underground hall, the unknown surround you. This is the space the puzzles unlock, the space the transmission signals, the space where the floor falls away, and you descend into the dark. But a door is never just a door. It is a frame, and what moves through the frame carries the nature of its origin into the new space. The unknown that arrive in our world, or allow us into theirs, bring something with them, a presence, a weight, a question that presses against the walls of the mind. The Pokédex makes a specific observation. When unknown gather in large numbers, strange powers begin to manifest. They can twist the fabric of the space around them, a distortion in the air, a shift in the temperature, the feeling that the walls are further away than they were a moment ago. It is the gathering that matters. A single unknown is a cipher. It floats silently. It watches, but it cannot write. 100 unknown can form a sentence. 1,000 can describe a world. The texts found in the ruins hint at this capacity. Friend, life, human, escape. These are composed words. They require an assembly of shapes, an agreed upon syntax. The power of the unknown is not in their individual strength. It is in their collective composition. A single word does not reshape reality. A full sentence does. A full story might create a universe. Their entire existence seems built on the principle of the collective. A single letter has no weight. It is a shape without context. It waits to be placed next to another letter, and when it is placed, meaning emerges. The story of the ruins of Alph is written in the language of the unknown. They are not just living in the ruins. They are the text of the ruins. The words that cover the walls are not separate from the creatures that float in the halls. The message and the messenger are the same. The wall and the wanderer are made of the same stuff. This leads directly into a difficult question. Are the unknown a species, or are they a vocabulary? The letter forms they take are deliberate. There are 28 known shapes, 26 letters, the exclamation point, the question mark. The presence of punctuation suggests that the unknown are not random biological forms. They are a system of writing. They have grammar. They have intention. The question mark implies they can query the world. The exclamation implies they can be surprised. Or perhaps these shapes are simply the closest approximation our minds can offer to a form that has no direct translation. The human mind abhors a void. Presented with an unknown shape, it searches for a match. A letter is the simplest container for a complex idea. We look at the unknown and the alphabet we already know. This is the ultimate camouflage. To be recognized, to be categorized, to be named. The name itself is a cage. And once the unknown is placed inside the cage of the alphabet, we stop asking what it truly is. We assume we know it. The camouflage succeeds not by hiding the unknown, but by satisfying our urge to explain. Perhaps the unknown have no bodies of their own in any way we can understand. What floating in the ruins is not the creature itself. It is a character in a sentence they are trying to write across dimensions. The shape is the only way they can be perceived by a human mind. It is a compromise between their reality and ours, a camouflage made entirely of meaning. They wear the shape of letters so we can read them. But what are they saying? Are they describing us? Are they writing history? Or are they trying to write a command? If this is true, then the individual unknown is not an individual. It is a piece of a larger mind, a single thought, a fragment of a sentence being spoken across time. The unknown may not speak to each other as we understand speech. Every unknown is a neuron in a vast brain. A neuron does not know the thought it carries. It simply fires. It signals. The thought emerges from the pattern of the whole. The ancient clan that lived here 1,000 years ago understood this. They built the puzzles. They carved the statues outside. They created the door. The ruins themselves were the shape the collective thought took. The walls are not merely carved. They are the fossilized trace of a thought, so immense it pressed itself into the stone. When you stand in the underground hall, surrounded by these fragments, a strange feeling settles over you. They float in the darkness. They move without direction. They have no voice. Our ears perceive nothing but silence, or perhaps the faint static of the transmission if the radio is active, but they see. This is the detail that cannot be ignored. Every Unown has a single staring eye. It is positioned in the center of their form, no matter what letter they represent. The exclamation form has an eye, the question form has an eye, the letter A has an eye, and the letter Z has an eye. It is the constant element in every shape. The eye does not blink. It is always open. It is always looking. The eye is the center, the point of origin, or the point of reception. Perhaps every Unown is a mirror, and the eye reflects the observer. The reason the eye follows you is because a mirror must face its subject. You are the one being written. The Unown are the ink. The walls are the page. Look at the walls of the corridor. The Unown are carved into the stone. They are painted onto the surfaces. They are written across every entrance. The eye follows you as you move. It does not matter where you stand. The eye remains fixed on you. The sensation is not one of being watched by a single creature. It is the feeling of being read. You are a letter in their language, and they are trying to understand your shape. They have watched the scholars from the research center. They have watched the trainers who come to solve the puzzles. They have watched for 1,000 years. The research center watches from a distance. Their window looks out onto the ruins. The scholars classify the 28 forms and catalogue the radio data. They analyze the walls. But they cannot answer the question of the eye. They cannot tell you whether the Unown are looking at us, or through us, or if we are simply walking through the pupil of a much larger gaze, a gaze that has been watching since before the clan built the first statue. We ask whether the Unown are individuals. Perhaps the better question is whether we are in the context of their perception, standing in the ruins, surrounded by the letters, watched by the eye. It becomes difficult to tell where the message ends and the observer begins. Are you studying them, or are they studying you? Are you a trainer, or are you a specimen in their field of view? Are you the reader, or are you the text? The walls hold symbols that repeat across the entire structure. The same letters, the same configurations, the same single eye watching from every carved surface. The meaning of those symbols, the specific weight of a letter carved into ancient stone, is a mystery that leads further inward, away from the entrance, away from the light of the surface world, away from the sound of the radio, deeper into the ruins, past the first puzzle, past the fallen floor, past the second chamber, into the silence of the underground hall, where the Unown gather in greater numbers. The further you go, the more the air changes, the more the walls seem to breathe, the more you feel the weight of their collective attention, and deeper still into the purpose of the messages left behind for someone to find, someone to carry, someone to understand. The letters wait, the eye watches, the sentence is incomplete. The previous chapter considered the Unown not as creatures to be battled, but as a phenomenon to be interpreted. Whether their lettered forms are a language, a form of camouflage, or simply the shape our minds can project onto an alien intelligence, they are undeniably tied to the concept of meaning. But meaning implies context, and the context of the ruins of Alph is one of profound and deliberate emptiness. This emptiness, and its connection to the Unown, brings us to the most somber theory surrounding this place. During the earliest concept phases of the Gold and Silver games, there were ideas that never survived into the final product. One of the most haunting fan theories to emerge from these early drafts connects the ruins of Alph directly to the bombing of Hiroshima. The theory draws on the stark imagery of the atomic shadows, human silhouettes burned into concrete and stone by the intense heat of the blast. These shadows are among the most sobering artifacts of that event. Permanent voids where life once stood, etched into the landscape by sheer energy. The fan theory suggests that the architects of the ruins, in this abandoned concept, designed the site as a deliberate parallel to those shadows. The empty rooms, the scattered puzzles, the Unown themselves. If the theory holds, the Unown were never just mysterious Pokémon meant to be collected. They were meant to represent the unknown victims, the thousands of civilians who were never identified, whose presence was erased so completely that only their outline remained. The letter forms of the Unown become a kind of fossilized absence, a script written entirely by loss. Every form you encounter in the dark chambers is a fragment of a life that left no other trace. It is crucial to treat this theory with the appropriate caution. It belongs entirely to the realm of fan speculation and early development rumor. The finalized games as released do not carry this overtone. The developers, Game Freak, have never confirmed this reading of the ruins. The narrative that was ultimately told pursues completely different themes. Ancient clans, the creation of statues, the mystery of the Unown's dimensional nature, and their connection to the creator of the Pokémon world. The shadow theory is a ghost in the machine of the lore, an interesting shadow itself, cast by a path that was ultimately abandoned. And yet, even treated with that caution, this theory offers a framework for understanding why the ruins of Alph evoke such a specific feeling of melancholy. The emptiness of the site is not just a technical limitation of the hardware, it is thematic. The ruins do not feel abandoned, they feel bereaved. The silence is heavy. The Unown do not attack or flee, they simply exist, scattered through the dark, occupying space without a clear purpose. They are not wild animals, they are remnants, impressions. The player walks through halls that were clearly built for a community. The texts say that 1,000 years ago, people and Pokémon lived in harmony here, but the harmony is gone. What remains is the shape of it. The Unown are the living evidence of that absence, drifting through the underground, like the aftermath of an event that left the structure hollow. Without requiring a specific real-world tragedy to validate this emotion, the ruins function as a space of loss. The emptiness is not empty, it is full of something missing. This is the power of the ruins of Alph. They do not explain their tragedy, they do not need to. The structure itself is the explanation. The shadow theory may be speculative, but the feeling it describes is very real to many who explore the site. The ruins are a place where something is implied, not shown. The silence is not a void, it is a presence. And if the Unown are tied to that absence, the deeper mystery becomes not just what they are, but what the space itself was truly designed to contain. The emptiness is part of the architecture. The radio goes silent. The puzzles sit unsolved. And the ruins hold their secret quietly, the way ruins always do. The shadow theory leaves us with a potent image, an absence so profound it becomes a mark upon the world. It asks us to look at the ruins of Alph and wonder not just what is there, but what is missing. And once you begin looking for that absence, you find it everywhere. You find it in the silence of the rooms. So we begin to gather the evidence, piece by piece, stone by stone. We have the abandoned chambers themselves, rooms that were once full of life, now empty except for dust and the hum of Unown. We have the language the builders left behind, but it is an incomplete language, a script of 26 shapes that seems to hover on the edge of meaning, never quite forming the full sentences we expect from a civilization. We have the warnings, carved into the walls and floors, phrases like escape, friend, life, human, words that feel like fragments of a larger message we can no longer read. We have the statues outside, tributes to Pokémon forms the region still recognizes, and we have the hidden lower world, the chamber beneath the puzzles, a space that feels disconnected from the physical laws of the world above. The evidence is there, scattered like the pieces of a torn page, waiting to be assembled into a story. So we have to consider the possibilities. Disaster, a sudden calamity that swept through the valley and erased the clan from history, leaving only the stone behind. Migration, a deliberate journey to another land, the temple abandoned but not forgotten. Ritual departure, a ceremony of leaving, a spiritual act where the builders shed their physical forms and walked into something beyond. Dimensional displacement, the strangest option of all, the idea that the builders opened a door and stepped through it, leaving our world entirely on purpose or by accident. Internal collapse, a civilization that crumbled from within, its purpose lost, its people scattered, its language forgotten even as its walls remained standing. And this leads us to the question that cannot be answered with certainty. Did the clan escape something, or did they become part of the thing they had summoned? The Unown were central to their existence. They built their puzzles around them. They shaped their language in their image. The Unown are not just inhabitants of the ruins. They are the ruins. They are the script on the walls. They are the signal in the radio. They are the space beneath the broken floors. If the builders understood the Unown well enough to build a world around them, then the final chapter of their story may have been a transaction. They may have vanished into the same dimension their creations guarded. They may have become the silence that now fills the halls. Perhaps the most haunting detail, the one that gives the ruins their deepest silence, is the absence of graves. No named descendants carry the lineage of the 5 ladies of Asuka into the modern era. No ancestral tombs rest in the chambers below. No bones are found in the hidden hall. A civilization that built statues, carved messages, constructed puzzles, and left not a single body behind. A disaster leaves ash. A migration leaves trails. A ritual departure leaves offerings. Dimensional displacement might leave no trace at all, and that absence, that specific void where a cemetery or a family line should exist, becomes one of the ruins' most profound mysteries. It tells us the end was not a slow decline. It was sudden, or it was voluntary, or it was impossible to leave a physical mark behind. And so we are left with the clan that built this place and then disappeared into the quiet they left, echoing through the stone. They lived here for 1,000 years, according to the tablets. They created the puzzles, the statues, the language, the door. And when they stepped away from it all, they left the door open, waiting for someone to solve the puzzles, to fall through the floor, to hear the transmission, and to wonder if the builders are still there, somewhere in the spaces the Unown guard, speaking a language of shapes that no longer needs a voice. The builders disappeared. We traced the evidence through abandoned chambers, incomplete murals, and the haunting warnings left in unknown text. The ruins of Alph became a question without an answer, a machine with no operator, a house where the lights were left on, but no one was home. Yet the mechanisms still function, the puzzles still drop floors, the transmission still hums on channel 13.5. If the builders left, what were they waiting for? Or rather, what were they expecting to arrive? The answer is never given to the player directly, but in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, a hidden event offers a clue so strange it reshapes everything we thought we understood. This event is considered one of the rarest, most elaborate secrets in the entire Pokémon franchise. It requires the impossible, a creature that exists outside the normal flow of the game's progression. Arceus. If you bring the Alpha Pokémon into the ruins of Alph, something extraordinary happens. The ruins do not respond with an ordinary battle. There is no sudden boss encounter, no fade to black with a cry of combat. Instead, the game triggers a cutscene. A light envelops the player. Location data resets. The familiar walls of the ruins of Alph dissolve, and you are no longer in Johto. You are somewhere else entirely. The ruins have not simply opened a door. They have teleported you across the region to a place called the Sinjo Ruins. The site recognizes the presence of a Pokémon associated with creation itself. The entire mechanism of the ruins of Alph acted as a ferry, designed specifically to transport someone carrying this specific creature. It understood what it was looking at. This was not a random encounter. It was a homecoming, or an arrival that had been programmed into the stone a very long time ago. Which brings us to the question we have to sit with. Were the ruins of Alph built in part to await Arceus, not simply as a temple to the unknown Unown, but as a terminal, a waypoint, a trigger that would fire when the creator god returned to the material world? The builders may have left, but they built the exit code into the very foundation. They created a system that could only be activated by a being that shaped the universe. The journey ends at the Sinjo ruins, where the architecture of Johto and Sinnoh blend together. Here the Unknown gather in vast numbers. They do not fight. They witness. They participate in a process that seems beyond biology or ecology. The Unknown, the puzzle pieces of Alph, the letters left behind by a lost culture, they are not the end of the story. They are part of a larger design, a language waiting for its author to arrive and read it back into motion. At the center of the Sinjo ruins stands the mystery stage, a platform surrounded by symbols, columns, and an impossible silence. This is where Arceus reveals its role, not through dialogue, not through a battle, but through an act of creation. Depending on the choice made by the player, Arceus forms an egg containing Dialga, Palkia, or Giratina. Time, space, or antimatter is born before your eyes. That single moment changes the meaning of the ruins. These are not merely ancient places where people once worshipped powerful Pokémon, are functioning sacred technologies. The stones are part temple, part machine, and part map. They connect regions that should be separated by mountains, oceans, and history. More importantly, they connect the human world to the forces that existed before human history began. The Unknown are everywhere during this ritual. They circle the stage in patterns that feel less like a gathering of wild creatures and more like living symbols being arranged into a sentence. Their forms suggest language, but their behavior suggests something older than language. Perhaps they do not simply represent letters. Perhaps letters are humanity's attempt to represent them. In the ruins of Alph, the Unknown appear trapped inside chambers, waiting behind sliding walls and beneath ancient floors. At Sinjo, they seem free. They move with purpose. They respond to Arceus as though they recognize an authority older than any king, professor, or civilization. The creatures once treated as a mystery to be collected suddenly become witnesses to the birth of cosmic beings, and that raises an unsettling possibility. The people who built the ruins of Alph may not have understood everything they were constructing. They may have inherited fragments of knowledge from an even older culture. They found the Unknown. They learned enough of their symbols to make puzzles, inscriptions, and strange devices. But perhaps the full meaning had already been lost. They were caretakers of a system whose original purpose reached far beyond Johto. The warnings in the ruins may no longer be warnings about trespassers alone. They may be warnings about activation, about disturbing a network built to remain dormant until the correct presence returned. The ruins were quiet because they were waiting, not dead, not abandoned, but suspended. And if one location could recognize Arceus after untold years, then what else might still be waiting beneath the surface of the Pokémon world? How many old shrines, sealed chambers, and forgotten scripts were built not to preserve the past, but to prepare for a future event no human could predict? The ruins of Alph never give us a final translation. They leave us with symbols, echoes, and machinery that still works long after its makers vanished. But maybe that is the point. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved by reading the message. Some are meant to be solved by becoming part of it. And then, the ruins did something entirely unexpected. In the moment the light took you, the familiar weight of the ruins of Alph fell away. The confined underground air, the scent of ancient dust and cold stone, the faint persistent hum of the radio channel still crackling in the background, all of it vanished. The teleportation carried you not through space as you knew it, but through a tunnel of pure resonance, a low hum that felt like it was emanating from the stones themselves, from the very fabric of the dimension you had spent so long theorizing about. When the light cleared, the air was entirely different, cold, sharp. It carried the scent of snow and high-altitude emptiness. You were standing in the open air, the Sinjo ruins, a wide circular chamber with no ceiling, ringed by distant snow-capped peaks. The floor beneath you was a massive, intricate mosaic, depicting the beginning of everything. The architecture itself is a direct contradiction. The masonry, the way the stones are cut and fitted together, is unmistakably Johtoan. It is the exact same technique used in the chambers of Alph. The pillars echo the design of the stone tablets found in the hidden underground hall, but the symbols carved into them, they are not the familiar letters of the Unown. Here, the walls are adorned with the 3 figures of the creation dragon, Dialga with its diamond structures embodying time, Palkia with its pearl-like form embodying space, and Giratina, chained and flowing, embodying the world that was cast away. They are rendered in the very same artistic style as the Pokémon statues that stand guard outside the slide puzzle chambers, far to the south. It is a seamless fusion, a place where the soul of Johto and the spirit of Sinnoh meet in one sacred frozen moment. The implication of this shared space cannot be overstated. The Sinjo ruins is not an echo. It is not a mere coincidence of convergent architecture. It is a deliberate link, a preserved artifact, proving that distant civilizations shared a common well of knowledge. They shared symbols, rituals, and an understanding of the divine that transcended the physical boundaries of their modern regions. The builders of Alph and the priests of the Spear Pillar were not strangers. They were neighbours in a world that has long since been forgotten. The teleportation triggered by Arceus is a key turning in an ancient lock. It proves that the path between these cultures was never a one-way journey. It was a network, a bridge built by a civilization so powerful, so in tune with the forces that shaped reality, that they could fold the very geography of the planet to connect their sacred sites. It is here, in the cold stillness of the Sinjo ruins, that the true nature of the unknown begins to take a clearer shape. The whispered texts from the game, the final pieces of the puzzle, hidden in the events of this very chamber, state it plainly. The Unown are not just a mysterious remnant of a forgotten age, they are the fundamental building blocks of reality. The alphabetic forms in Alph are a translation, a human-bound interface for a power that is otherwise incomprehensible. Arceus, the being who created the universe, used the power of the Unown to do so. The little letter-shaped Pokémon of Alph are the raw material of time, space, and existence itself. The ancient builders of this network knew this deeply. The puzzles in Alph were not just games or simple locks. They were a rite of passage, a way of training the mind to communicate with the forces of creation. The ruins of Alph were a library, a school, a terminal designed to interact with the fundamental alphabet of the universe. And the Sinjo ruins is the inner sanctum, the Hall of Records, where the final truth of that entire system is enshrined in the largest mural of them all. This understanding reframes everything. The ruins of Alph was never an isolated site. It was not a single lonely mystery buried in the hills of Johto. It was a surviving point in a forgotten network, one intact node in a vast broken system. The incomplete chambers, the warnings of escape carved into the floor, the sudden and complete departure of the builders. All of it takes on a new meaning. Perhaps the network collapsed for a reason. Perhaps the knowledge held within became too heavy to bear, but the Sinjo ruins survives, a frozen destination, waiting patiently for someone to arrive. The pillar in the center of the room, standing silent and unadorned beneath the open sky, feels like a monument to what was lost. Alph was the door. The falling floors were the threshold. This is the inner sanctum, the place where the connection between the alphabet of Johto and the gods of Sinnoh was eternally sealed in stone. Standing here, the wind moves across the circular floor. The sound is the only movement. The murals of Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina watch from the walls in silent painted reverence. The pillar rises in the center, a blank slate that holds more meaning than any carved inscription could. The network lies dormant. The other nodes are likely long gone, lost to time, disaster, or deliberate collapse, but the connection remains, preserved in the very architecture of the stones beneath your feet. It wisps that the civilization of the ruins of Alph was not an outlier. It was a member of a family that understood the unknown, the creation myths, and the power of Arceus as a single unified truth. And the family seat, the heart of the network, the place where the deepest secrets were kept, stands here, waiting, in the quiet intersection between two worlds. The Sinjo Ruins event is the closest the games have ever come to giving the ruins of Alph a definitive theological anchor. When Arceus is placed at the center of the Alph chamber, the ruins respond not with hostility, not with the puzzle, but with a translation. They teleport the god to a completely different location, a shrine that mixes the myths of Sinnoh and Johto. The implication is profound. The Unown do not simply exist in the ruins. They are part of a system, a network designed to interface with something as fundamental as creation itself. This brings us directly to the core tension that defines the ruins and saturates the history of the Unown. Across every generation they appear in, the connection between Arceus, the deity that shaped the universe, and the Unown, the silent letter-shaped fragments that drift in abandoned chambers. The unresolved nature of this connection is the entire reason the ruins remain fascinating so many years after their introduction. We have never been given a straight answer about what the Unown actually are. No interview, no game director's commentary, no lore deep dive in legends. Arceus or any modern title has ever closed the loop on these two entities. Instead, the relationship persists as a quiet constant in the background of the Pokémon universe. A question mark that every generation seems content to leave dangling. The Unown themselves are a paradox of form and function. They look like letters, yet they are alive. They float silently in chambers that feel less like rooms and more like the edges of a dream. Every one of their 28 known shapes is a glyph, a symbol that suggests intent. But whose intent? The connection to Arceus implies that the Unown are not random. They are a deliberate creation. But why create a language that cannot be spoken? Is the Unown alphabet a record of creation, left behind as a fossil of the act itself? The idea is haunting. The ruins of Alph might not be a temple, they might be a library, and the books have already been read, leaving only the living letters to drift in the silence. So what are the Unown to Arceus? We can consider three broad possibilities, though none of them are ever explicitly confirmed in any official material. The first is that the Unown are servants of creation, living letters that act as the building blocks of reality. If Arceus is the author, the Unown are the alphabet, the syntax of the universe. This interpretation draws heavily on the third Pokémon movie, Bell of the Unown, where a small cluster of Unown bend reality around a child's wish. They do not create from nothing. They give form to thought. They transcribe desire into existence. In that film, the Unown bond with a human consciousness. They do not simply obey, they interpret. Molly Hale wishes for her father, and the Unown create a being that embodies his protective spirit. They pull a man from reality into a world of crystal and shadow. This is the power of a language that speaks itself into existence. If this power is a reflection of a larger cosmic function, then the Unown may have been the tools used in the very act of creation. The second possibility is that the Unown are fragments of another reality, a sharp departure from the idea of servants. This theory sees the Unown as survivors, remnants of a previous universe, a world that existed before Arceus gave shape to this one. In this context, the ruins of Alph are not a temple. They are a quarantine zone, a holding space for things that no longer fit the current design of reality. The puzzles, the mysterious transmission, the hidden dimension, all of it becomes a mechanism for containment. The Unown are not worshipped, they are observed. They are the ghosts of a creation cycle that Arceus has already moved on from. The third and most subtle possibility is that the Unown are tools left behind. Not servants, not survivors, but equipment, a forgotten protocol, a divine application programming interface that is no longer in active use. This interpretation explains their passive behavior in the games. They do nothing because their time is over. The Alph chambers are a dock for an abandoned system. Bringing Arceus to them essentially reconnects the god to an old piece of hardware. The teleportation to the Sinjar ruins is not a miracle. It is a routine function, an automated forwarding system that just happens to look like a religious experience to a modern observer. It is deeply telling that Pokémon Legends, Arceus chose to sidestep this entirely. That game takes place in the distant past of Sinnoh, a region intimately tied to the creation myth of the Pokémon world. It explains the origin of the Lake Guardians, the creation trio, the plates, and even depicts direct encounters with Arceus. Yet the Unown are completely absent from the Hisui region. They do not appear. They are not referenced. It is a deliberate silence. If the Unown were truly active servants of creation, they should have been everywhere in Hisui. They were not. This absence suggests that their role in the universe is either geographically limited to Alph and its sister ruins, or that their function is so obscure and passive that it operates entirely beneath the notice of history. This allows the mystery to remain larger than any single game. It stretches across the Sevi Islands, the Solacean ruins, the desert ruins, connecting them all under a single, barely visible thread. The Unown are everywhere, but their purpose is nowhere, and their relationship with Arceus is the single most significant unanswered question in their entire existence. Perhaps the true nature of the Unown is not to be solved, but to be felt. They are an atmosphere, a frequency. They are the shape of a void. When you stand in the main chamber of the ruins of Alph, in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, there is an audio texture that sets it apart from every other location in Johto. It is not the silence of a cave which echoes. It is the dead silence of a room that is absorbing sound. The Unown themselves do not make noise. Their cry in the games is a soft, almost imperceptible hum. The puzzles require concentration. The floor gives way beneath you, and then you fall into a space that feels wrong, a dimension that is not quite built for the world of light and air. This is the void that connects the god and the letters, the unexplained silence that holds everything together. When Arceus steps into this space, the void recognizes the creator, and the creator, for reasons the games have never explored, recognizes the letters. And then, in the most telling detail of all, Arceus is sent somewhere else, not to reclaim the Unown, not to command them, but to be moved. The Unown do not follow Arceus, they simply redirect him. This implies a functional parity that no other Pokémon possesses. The Unown are not beneath the god, they are tangential. They are a related system. They exist alongside the architecture of creation itself. The ruins of Alph stand at the edge of our understanding. They hold the Unown. They once held Arceus. They connected them in a single, brief event that raised more questions than it answered. And then they fell silent again, waiting for a trainer, a historian, a dreamer to come back and ask the one question that no game has ever dared to fully close the book on. What is the relationship between the god and the letters? The mystery stretches on, and perhaps that is exactly how it should be. A void, filled not with answers, but with the gentle static of the unknown. The connection between Arceus and the Unown remains one of the deepest enigmas of the Pokémon world. We looked at the possibilities, the threads that tie the creator to these strange symbols, but in doing so, we must eventually return to the stage itself, the physical vessel of the mystery, the ruins of Alph. Returning to the underground hall feels different now. We know the mechanics, the slide puzzles, the falling floors, the specific chambers that summon them. But here, in the quiet depths, the Unown drift through the darkness without explanation. They are not hostile in the traditional sense. They simply are shapes without context, floating above the ancient stone floor. Before we go any further, let the radio return one last time. Channel 13.5, the mysterious transmission. Its signal remains unchanged after all these years. Across every version of Johto, from the original Gold and Silver to the Heart Gold and Soul Silver remakes, the sound is the same, a specific frequency, a key. It does not become clearer. It does not become louder. It just plays endlessly, waiting for someone to understand. Now, standing in this space, surrounded by the last of the lore, we must confront the questions that no Pokémon professor has been able to answer. We have to ask again who built Alph. The text on the walls says that 1,000 years in the past, people and Pokémon lived in harmony here. The statues of Pokémon outside speak to a culture that revered them. But who were they? What clan? Where did they go? The halls are intact, but empty of their creators. And what of the word embedded in the floor of the puzzle chambers? The word that appears when the unknown text is translated. Is it a command? A warning? A description of the ritual that took place here? Did the ancient inhabitants escape through this very chamber, leaving the unknown behind? Or does the word refer to the unknown themselves? Are they escaping from their dimension into ours? Which brings us to the final question, the one that underpins everything. Where do unknown truly come from? Are they fragments of Arceus, a language given physical form by a reality that bends to perception? Or are they something older, something that exists purely as a symbol, a thought that echoes in the space between dimensions? The connection to Arceus in the Sinjo ruins suggests a link to creation itself, but the unknown refuse a definitive answer. We have walked through every angle we could find: the shadow theory, the abandoned builders, the connection to the creator god, the journey to Sinjo. But the ruins of Alph itself continues to hum. The puzzles have been solved in the games. The unknown have been gathered, yet the heart of the mystery remains entirely intact. It is not cracked, it is simply observed. We end this journey where it began, in the cold, quiet hall beneath Johto. The unknown drift. The radio plays its static code. Perhaps the ruins are not silent at all. The transmission implies a voice. The unknown imply a message. An alphabet is a tool for meaning. Maybe the civilization did not disappear. Maybe they are still here, watching, waiting for someone to finish the sentence they started. Maybe humanity, and even the Pokémon world itself, has simply forgotten how to listen. And so the chambers wait, the letters wander, and the signal plays on. If there is an answer, it may not be hidden behind one final puzzle or one forgotten inscription. It may be hidden in the way every piece refuses to stand alone. The unknown are letters, but letters need a reader. The ruins are a monument, but monuments need memory. The radio signal is a broadcast, but a broadcast means nothing until someone recognizes the language. That may be the real purpose of Alph, not to explain the unknown, but to preserve the question of them, to leave behind a door that can only open when the world is ready to understand what it sees. Every trainer who enters these chambers becomes part of that design. They solve the puzzles, they collect the symbols, they hear the strange music, and then they leave carrying a little more uncertainty than they brought in. Perhaps that is why the mystery has lasted. The ruins of Alph were never meant to give us certainty. They were meant to remind us that, even in a world mapped by regions, indexed by professors, and filled with creatures people believe they understand, there are still things beyond classification. Somewhere beneath the grasslands of Johto, an ancient alphabet continues to move in the dark, and whatever the unknown are trying to say, they have not stopped saying it.